suddenly grasped a profound academic truth. According to servants from the Li residence, Li Anren has locked himself in his room for half a month. Strange, mad-sounding voices often come from inside, though whether it's true is uncertain. Oh? Lu Yuxing, clan leader of the Lu family of Fanyang, said with interest, that I hadn't heard. Shoulin, what did Li Gang's grandson say? Lu Shoulin replied seriously, it said his first mad utterance was, I want to become a sage, to be like Confucius and Mencius. Everyone was stunned. Wang Shutai laughed loudly, he's gone mad, completely mad. Li Gang's grandson, Li Anren, must be crazy to say something like that. To want to become a sage? Ha! He's truly lost it. Is becoming a sage something a mere mortal can dream of? Lu Yuxing smiled and asked, Shoulin, what else did the madman say? Lu Shoulin thought for a moment and said, the second thing he said was, divine brush, you are truly a divine brush. With you, how could I not become a sage? And the third? Others asked eagerly. Lu Shoulin continued, the third thing he said was, my nature is complete, I need seek nothing from the outside. I understand now, the path to sagehood lies within. Rip. All 5 clan leaders gasped in unison, their eyes flashing. Lu Yuxing and Wang Shutai exchanged glances, each seeing shock in the other's eyes. Zheng Yu said seriously, gentlemen, Confucianism might be about to change. Could it be that Li Anren really had an epiphany from the divine brush? Otherwise, he wouldn't have come up with such profound words. Lu Yuxing muttered, my nature is complete, I need seek nothing from the outside. That really is astonishing. Wang Shutai said gravely, we must not let the Li family produce a sage. If that happens, their prestige will surpass that of our 5 surnames and 7 clans. That would severely threaten our dominance in scholarship. Zheng Yu stood up, brothers, let's go visit Li Gang now, see this so-called divine brush, and understand Li Anren's situation. If he truly has grasped the principles of founding a school and becoming a sage, we need to plan ahead. Agreed. Let's go now. The group rushed to Li Gang's residence. Originally, Li Gang lived in the palace. But due to the matter of the divine brush, he was currently resting at his home in Chang'an. At the Li residence, a servant ran through the alley shouting, Master, Master. The clan leaders of the Wang family of Taiyuan, Lu family of Fanyang, and Zheng family of Xingyang are here, along with elders Wang Buqing, Lu Guangyuan, and Zheng Taiming. Li Gang's eyes lit up. He whispered to the servant, go notify Anren. Tell him leaders of the 5 surnames and 7 clans have arrived. Have him prepare. Then bring them into the residence. Yes. The servant informed Li Anren and then led the guests into the residence. Seeing them, Li Gang slowly stood from his rattan chair and cupped his hands with a hearty laugh, ha ha ha. Brothers Wang, Lu, and Zheng. To have you 3 great clan leaders visit my humble home, what an honor. My legs are weak, I couldn't greet you at the door. I hope you'll forgive me. Not at all. Master Li, you are the pillar of Confucianism. There's no need for such formalities. After some polite exchanges, Li Gang invited them to sit and ordered servants to prepare tea. He said nothing more, fully aware why they had come, and quietly waited for them to speak first. After some polite greetings, Wang Shutai smiled and said, Brother Li, I heard a rumor around the town that not long ago you dreamed at night that an immortal gifted you a divine brush. Is that true? Li Gang immediately looked wary and shook his head repeatedly, saying, Nonsense, don't listen to rumors. How could there be immortals in this world? Those are all fabricated by idle scholars. You should know how dangerous rumors can be. The more he said this, the more the others felt something was off. Lu Yuzhen smiled and said, Master Li, you are a respected figure among Confucians, how could you lie? We only came to visit after confirming this matter, just to catch a glimpse of the divine brush. Please don't hide it. As he spoke, he wore an expression everyone understood. Li Gang looked a bit uncomfortable and said, I already said there's no such thing. It's all fake, just rumors. Zheng Yu said with displeasure, Master Li, we are all old friends. When we studied under you, you were a man of upright character. How could you have changed now? Wang Shutai chuckled and said, Master Li, no need to be so secretive. All of Chang'an knows you were gifted a brush by an immortal in your dream. How could you hide it from us? Why not be honest? We came to visit just to take a look. Lu Yuzhen cupped his hands and said, Please don't be stingy. We only want to see it, nothing more. Li Gang's expression became complicated, and he suddenly sighed deeply. Wang Shutai asked in confusion, why the sigh, Brother Li? Is there something more to this? Li Gang smiled bitterly and said, to be honest, it's true. Not long ago, I dreamt of a man claiming to be the immortal of literature who gave me a jade brush. I thought it was a good thing, but who would have thought, alas. Wang Shutai said urgently, Brother Li, can you please finish what you were saying? The others also looked increasingly impatient. Li Gang then sighed and said, an immortal's gift should have been a joyous event. But unexpectedly, after my grandson used it, he became insane, ranting about becoming a sage. For over half a month now, he hasn't left his study except for eating and relieving himself. The group exchanged glances. Li Gang continued, you may not know, my eldest son died young, and my second son is bedridden with little time left. My only descendant is my grandson Anren, who grew up by my side. He's now accomplished and serves as steward at the crown prince's residence. Though the brush is rumored to be a divine artifact, to me it is a cursed item. After Anren held it, he became delusional, constantly talking about becoming a sage. He's even been dismissed from his post. Everyone nodded frequently, having heard of Anren's madness and dismissal. Li Gang looked worried and said, I am already old. I don't dream of a sage in the family, just that my grandson can live in peace and health, take care of me in old age, and continue our family line. Wang Shutai's eyes gleamed and he quickly cupped his hands, saying, since you believe the brush brings misfortune, why not give it to me? Why should it go to you? Zheng Yu said unhappily. Such a rare treasure, why would Brother Li give it away for free? Brother Li, I'm willing to pay 10,000 gold for it. Lu Yuzhen also frowned and said, Brother Zheng, this is no ordinary object. How can it be measured in money? Brother Li, I'm willing to trade 100 rare books for it. What do you say? Li Gang looked annoyed and said, this is a gift from an immortal, how can I just hand it over? Wang Shutai was shocked. Didn't you just say the brush was cursed? Li Gang said, it is indeed cursed, but now it is my grandson's lifeline. A few days ago, I took the brush from him, and he nearly killed himself. If I give it away, I fear he will lose the will to live. The three men looked a bit embarrassed. Wang Shutai said, a gentleman does not covet what others cherish. Since you won't part with it, could you at least let us admire it from afar? Li Gang hesitated, then finally nodded and said, very well, come with me. The 3 clan heads and 3 elders of the 5 great families looked excited. Although they'd heard the rumors, they still had doubts. Seeing is believing. Li Gang led them to a side room in the rear courtyard. Before entering, he turned around with a stern expression and said, gentlemen, the brush can be looked at but not touched. My mad grandson might become violent. That would not be worth the trouble. Don't worry, we'll just look from a distance. With that assurance, Li Gang led them inside. It was a bright study. Upon entering, they saw a calligraphy piece hanging on the wall behind the desk with just 4 words, unity of knowledge and action. Upon seeing these 4 words, all 6 elders looked stunned. Even if they didn't fully understand the meaning, they could sense the depth of it. Ordinary people couldn't reach such a state of understanding. Li Gang, seeing them staring at the calligraphy, explained, this was written by Anren a few days ago. When I asked him its meaning, he refused to tell me. Their minds stirred, and they looked further inside. At the window stood a man in scholar's robes, facing outward, back toward them. In the hand behind his back, he held a crystal-clear brush. When they saw this transparent, round brush shaft, the clan heads gasped and stared eagerly at the brush in Li Anren's hand. Li Gang pointed and said, that is the divine brush given by the immortal. They stared without blinking. At that moment, Li Anren slapped his forehead and laughed loudly, I understand. I understand. So that's how it is. Excited, he walked to the desk and began writing furiously on a piece of rice paper with the jade brush. Soon, 4 large lines appeared on the paper. Wang Shutai leaned over and read aloud, the essence of the mind knows neither good nor evil, intention shows good and evil. To know good and evil is conscience, to do good and avoid evil is investigation of things. Rip. He inhaled sharply and looked at the others. They were all stunned, even worried. Li Anren put down the brush and picked up his calligraphy piece, laughing madly, haha, the path to sainthood lies within. This is a divine brush, every time I hold it, I gain new insight. I'm getting closer to becoming a sage. He stared at his work with a smile behind the paper. The others looked at the brush he had set down. Li Gang picked it up and showed them quietly, this is the brush Anren treasures more than life. They gasped again, their eyes full of passion. They saw that the jade brush was crystal clear and dazzling in the sunlight. In the center of the shaft were 4 golden characters, authentic literature. The gold words were inlaid perfectly, seamless and natural. A divine brush, truly gifted by an immortal. They were overwhelmed with emotion and now fully believed the rumors. Li Gang, meanwhile, had a sly look in his eye, like an old fox, let's see how I trick you all now. Wang Shutai was itching with desire and reached out to take the jade brush, but was pushed away by Li Gang. Li Gang angrily said, worthy brother Wang, what are you doing? Wang Shutai looked slightly embarrassed, cupped his hands, and said, brother Li, no need to be like this. I just wanted to take a closer look. Please allow me. Li Gang shook his head like a rattledrum. No, no, no. You can only look, not touch. If it gets dropped or damaged, I'm afraid Onren will go mad and fight you. Besides, the first time Onren used this divine brush, he went mad. This is my home, if any of you touch it and go crazy too, I won't be able to explain myself. It's best not to touch it. Zheng Yu reminded, old Wang, brotherly allowing us to see it is already a great honor. Better give up the idea of touching it. What if you go mad? Wang Shutai was itching inside and muttered to himself, what madman? This is a chance to become a sage. Even a moment of enlightenment is a rare opportunity. And this Li Gang, he's simply an idiot. His grandson got such a great opportunity and is about to create a new school of thought and be revered as a sage, yet he thinks the boy's gone mad. Truly blind. To some extent, the others felt the same. At this time, Li Anren put down the rice paper, looked surprised at the crowd, and said, Grandfather? When did you come? And these elders, who are they? Where is my divine brush? Where's my divine brush? Li Anren noticed the brush was missing from the table and began to search in a panic. Li Gang quickly handed it over and said, Here it is, Anren. Your brush is here. Li Anren snatched it and held it tightly, looking at Li Gang warily. Don't take my divine brush. I still need it to become a sage. Li Gang quickly nodded. Okay, I won't take your brush. You keep meditating on your sage path. Grandpa will go now. He hurriedly urged the guests to leave. Once they were out of the study, Li Gang sighed heavily and said, As you saw, my grandson didn't used to treat me like this. He always respected and loved me. But ever since he got the divine brush, even I can't touch it. Wang Shutai rolled his eyes and sighed, brotherly, if this continues, your grandson may truly go mad. Li Gang said nervously, Then what should I do? Wang Shutai shook his head regretfully, since it's the divine brush that made him mad, it should be taken away for him to recover. Li Gang looked troubled, but once the brush is taken, my grandson may be in danger of losing his life. Beside them, Wang Wuqing squinted and smiled, Masterly, I may have a way to help your grandson return to normal. Oh? Li Gang asked in surprise. What method? Wang Wuqing smiled and said, Since it was a divine gift from an immortal, just secretly take the brush away, and that night dream of the immortal. When your grandson asks, tell him the immortal took it back. Li Gang slapped his thigh excitedly, Wonderful. Brilliant idea. The other's eyes also lit up. Zheng Yu asked eagerly, So what does brotherly plan to do with the brush? Hide it away or? Li Gang looked confused and shook his head, I don't know what to do with it yet. Zheng Yu continued, If you plan to part with it, please inform me. Certainly. Li Gang nodded repeatedly. Me too. Wang Shutai and Lu Yusheng also rushed to express their intent. Li Gang agreed to all, then after some pleasantries, the representatives of the 5 great clans took their leave. After leaving the Li residence, they returned to Lu Shoulin's home. While drinking tea, they discussed the matter. Gentlemen. Wang Shutai glanced at the others, his face serious, this matter is of great importance. We must discuss carefully before making any decisions. Zheng Yu asked suspiciously, What are you suggesting? That we keep the brush for ourselves? Lu Yusheng shook his head, That won't do. There's only one brush. Our Lu family won't back down either. Wang Shutai didn't respond directly but gave an approving look at Wang Wuqing, saying, Wuqing did well. This Li Anren, supported by the brush and his talent, derived those 4 aphorisms. He has the potential to start his own school. If given time, Li Anren might truly become a great sage. And the brush itself has those golden characters, authentic literature, inside the jade. Who but a god could inscribe characters inside jade? The rumors may not be false. We absolutely cannot let Li Anren become a sage. So Wuqing did right. Li Gang is too focused on his grandson's mental state and missed the path to sainthood he's begun. If we can't have the brush, then we must ruin his path to becoming a sage. There's only one divine brush. If all 3 families want it, let's see who can offer the best terms. He looked around and saw both Lu Yusheng and Zheng Yu looked displeased. Wang Shutai laughed and said, No need to look like that. We all want the brush. If I get it, you too will be unhappy. If Brother Zheng gets it, Lu and I won't agree. So the best result is fair competition, let the worthy win. Zheng Yu thought for a moment and nodded, that makes sense. Lu Yusheng also nodded and sighed, but who knows when Li Gang will be willing to let it go. Everyone fell silent. If the brush isn't being sold, all this talk is useless. Meanwhile, Li Gang was in Li Anren's study, laughing heartily. Li Anren looked troubled, playing with the jade brush in his hand, saying, Grandfather, Lord Qing gave you this brush, but now he wants to auction it, weren't we working for nothing then? Li Gang frowned and pointed at the Unity of Knowledge and Action inscription, saying, You're missing the point. You got lucky and still complain. Li Anren blushed, embarrassed, and said, grandfather is right. Compared to Lord Qing's guidance, what is one brush worth? I was petty and shouldn't have had such thoughts. Li Gang nodded with satisfaction. Then he suddenly smiled and said, who said there's only one brush? Li Anren asked doubtfully, could there be another? Li Gang smiled slyly, though I haven't dealt much with Qing, I can guess from his plan that this jade brush isn't the only one. He must have more, though we don't know how many. He wants to trick the 5 great clans, and he won't just target one. So I believe he has at least 3 brushes. Li Anren suddenly understood and smiled bitterly, something so obvious and I missed it. Grandfather sees through everything. Li Gang scolded with a smile, don't flatter me. Quickly write a letter describing everything that happened today. Find someone trustworthy to deliver it to Lord Qing. And remember, keep it secret. Li Anren immediately wrote the letter and had a trusted aide send it to Sanha village. Unbeknownst to them, at that moment, Lord Qing was holding Lady Li Yuqing's plump hips and going all out. No. Stop. Such words of encouragement came from the mouth of Li Yuqing. Ever since she confirmed Qingxiu's attitude and feelings toward her, Li Yuqing had devoted herself entirely, no longer feeling any sense of being forced. From the bottom of her heart, she had already acknowledged that from now on, she belonged to the man behind her, she had become his woman. Victory pressed forward in high spirits, defeat retreated in disarray. The utterly defeated Li Yuqing collapsed, her brows full of satisfaction after the pleasure. After resting for a while, Li Yuqing leaned close to Qingxiu and softly asked, when will you send junior sister Yunyan back to the Miao village? Qingxiu pinched her chin with a wicked smile, why are you asking me that? Her mouth was deformed from the pinch, but she had no resistance. Her eyes, misty with affection, were full of infatuation. She asked in a slightly puzzled and muffled voice, of course I'm asking when you'll send her back. What else could I be asking? Qingxiu increased the pressure and asked, think carefully, what should you be asking me now? Li Yuqing frowned in pain and looked at him pitifully, saying in confusion, I don't know. Please give me a hint. Qingxiu raised his hand and slapped her plump rear, making that heart-shaped part tremble at once. Qingxiu shook his head helplessly, forget it if you can't figure it out. I didn't say anything. Seeing him like this, Li Yuqing panicked, then blushed and said shyly, husband. Ah, now that's more like it. At least you're not completely dumb. Embarrassed and flustered by Qingxiu's mockery, she quickly changed the topic. Husband, when will you release Yunyan? Qingxiu asked with a puzzled look, did I ever say I would let her go? Li Yuqing was stunned, staring at him in sadness, her eyes moist with tears, full of grievance. She had given him her body and heart, yet he wouldn't even agree to this small request? Wasn't he being too heartless? Li Yuqing fell into a slight despair, gave a bitter smile, and nodded, all right. I was asking too much. Qingxiu pinched her cheek and smiled, there's a reason not to let her go. You said it yourself, you're the real saintess of the Wuzhu sect. In terms of influence, you're definitely more convincing than your junior sister Lu Yunyan. If we send your junior sister back, and something unexpected happens and she can't handle it, then what? This, Li Yuqing looked troubled. Qingxiu continued, if your junior sister returns to the Miao village and the old sect leader refuses to pass the position to her and chooses someone else, then what? Li Yuqing's face revealed shock. Qingxiu, with a tone of disappointment, slapped her butt and said, you really are foolishly cute. Already in your 30s, and still so clueless, how did you even become the Wuzhu sect saintess? Li Yuqing's face turned bright red from his mockery, and she seemed both embarrassed and annoyed. She puffed up and said, I'm not already in my 30s. I'm only 33, still young. Can you stop always bringing up my age? She felt uncomfortable every time she heard the word age, especially after falling for this man. She constantly worried he might find her too old. All right. Seeing she was about to cry, Qingxiu nodded quickly and said, I won't mention age anymore. But remember, age isn't a barrier, height isn't a gap, and weight isn't pressure. Since I've chosen to take responsibility for you, I don't care about your age. So don't carry any burden in your heart. Hearing this, Li Yuqing was moved to tears, nodding continuously while giving him a sweet kiss, murmuring, thank you, husband, for not minding. Look at that, she's even thanking him? She's really adorably dumb. Qingxiu took the opportunity and said, so I think it's best that you go back to the Miao village for now. But, Li Yuqing looked reluctant to part. Qingxiu cupped her face and said, I know you don't want to leave me, but remember, if love is to last, does it need to be morning and night together all the time? Li Yuqing's body trembled slightly and she pondered over his words. Then she nodded solemnly, okay. I'll do as husband says. After I take care of matters at the Miao village, I'll return to serve you as quickly as I can. Qingxiu chuckled. If she doesn't leave for a while, how can I train her junior sister Lu Yunyan? Of course, he wouldn't say this out loud. He just nodded and said, all right, this time you can take Sienna with you. The two of you can look after each other. Li Yuqing said affectionately, thank you, husband, for your trust. Qingxiu smirked. What kind of story had she imagined now? Li Yuqing shook her head, no need. Better to leave Sienna with husband. She's weak and not even as skilled as Xiao Rou. Taking her might just slow me down. I'll feel more at ease if she stays behind. What a silly woman. Qingxiu smacked his lips, are you sure you want to leave Sienna with me? Are you really that trusting? Li Yuqing lowered her head, her pretty face blushing. In a soft voice, she said, Sienna is also of age for marriage. If I'm not around to serve husband, and if husband misses me, you can go to Sienna. After saying that, she buried her face in her chest. The real reason she made this decision was because this husband was too young. She, despite her best efforts at maintenance and attentiveness, feared the day he might find her old and discard her. If her young and beautiful disciple could firmly tie him down, then even if he eventually disliked her, he wouldn't be heartless enough to cast her away. Qingxiu's mouth dropped open. Internally, he shouted, what a delivery. One word, thrilling. Seeing him silent, Li Yuqing continued, if husband isn't interested in Sienna, then forget it. Qingxiu took a deep breath, no matter how beautiful Sienna is, I can't appreciate it. I'm blind, after all. Honestly, I still don't know if you're beautiful or ugly. Li Yuqing scolded him playfully, I'm already your concubine. Stop calling me Aunt Qing. Every time you say that, it reminds me how old I am. It makes me feel terrible. Qingxiu leaned into her ear and laughed, but I just like calling you Aunt Qing. I enjoy it. Li Yuqing's body softened. She murmured, if husband likes calling me that, then I can't stop you. Qingxiu perked up and quickly pushed her aside. Goodness, look at how dazed she looks. If this goes on, another fierce battle is inevitable. That saying, women in their 30s are like wolves, in their 40s like tigers, it's not false. At her age, after experiencing intimacy, she was like someone addicted to a taste. If she didn't leave for a while, she might just drain him dry. Qingxiu got up and dressed while saying, I still have things to handle. Wash up and wait for me tonight, I'll stay here. Li Yuqing hid her disappointment and knelt on the bed to help him with his clothes, softly saying, tomorrow morning, I'll head to the Miao village. Qingxiu asked, aren't you going to see Sienna? Li Yuqing suppressed her feelings and shook her head, no, farewells are always sad. Qingxiu paused and said, still, you should see her. You need to explain things. If she only hears it from me, she might not believe that I've become your husband. If she makes a scene, that would be bad. Li Yuqing nodded, all right. Tomorrow, I'll properly explain everything to Sienna. With his back to her, Qingxiu smiled faintly. If Li Yuqing didn't say anything, Xiao Shuixian would never obediently agree to be picked. But if Li Yuqing hinted at it, with that gentle lamb-like personality, who knows, she might just bathe and offer herself willingly. Qingxiu actually had nothing urgent to do. He just returned to the Qing residence in Qinglong Ward to check on the progress of glass production. If he stayed in Zhao village any longer, Li Yuqing, at her age, having gotten a taste for pleasure, would probably wish he never pulled out. After more than half a month of firing, the glass-making team led by Old Wei 9 had already produced over 1,000 glazed jade brushes. The shape and quality were nearly identical, as if all made from the same mold. Each had gold-embellished inscriptions, some said, authentic Confucianism, some, lofty character, others, Grand Master, Confucian authority, or academic giant. In short, there were many varieties, and each type had hundreds of brush handles. Soon, these glass jade brushes would likely take all of Chang'an by storm. However, that would only happen after the 5 great families had their fill. The defective products and leftover materials from the jade brush production were all smashed by Old Wei 9 and buried at a hidden location. Lord Marquis! Lord Marquis! A hurried voice came from outside. Qingxiu walked out of the hot kiln room and saw Taizhu holding a letter in one hand and a black cloth bag in the other, his face full of excitement. Qingxiu teased with a smile, Taizhu, why so excited? Did your wife give you 2 more sons? Not long ago, Tiezhu's wife had given birth to twin boys, and Qingxiu had named them, one Wang Ping, the other Wang An, meaning safe and sound. Taizhu grinned and first handed Qingxiu the letter, saying, Lord Marquis, this is a letter from Old Master Li Gang. Qingxiu didn't open it immediately, slipping it into his robe to read later in private using his God's perspective. Taizhu mysteriously pulled Qingxiu into a side room. Qingxiu asked, Taizhu, why are you so worked up? Something good happen in your family? Taizhu placed the black bag on the floor and opened it. Instantly, a green glow lit up the room. Look, Lord Marquis, luminous stone. This is luminous stone. Such a large piece, it's priceless. Qingxiu looked confused, squatted down and stroked the glowing green rock, then scoffed, what luminous stone? This is just regular fluorite. What? Ordinary fluorite? Taiju was stunned and said anxiously, that can't be, Lord Marquis. Back when I was in the army, General Chai had a priceless luminous pearl. They said it was bought from Western merchants for tens of thousands in silver. I saw General Chai's luminous pearl, it looked just like this. Why do you say it's just common fluorite? Taiju was talking about General Chai Shao, known for his immense wealth, enough to rival a nation. It was said that during Li Er's wars, Chai Shao funded much of the military expenses. To thank him, Li Yuan married the princess of Pingyang to him. Hearing this, Qingxiu had a flash of realization and his mood brightened. Right, this is the Tang dynasty. People back then knew little about minerals. What we now call fluorite was passed down as luminous pearls. Qingxiu patted Tieju's shoulder and smiled, not bad, not bad. You actually brought me luminous stone. You deserve great credit. But Taiju, news about this mustn't leak. Taiju proudly thumped his chest, don't worry, Lord Marquis. The brother who found it works under me. I already promised he'd get 100 pounds of wine. He won't spill a word. Qingxiu asked, where did you find this fluorite? No, luminous stone. Taiju answered, there's a saltpeter mine in the Qinling Mountains. We found it nearby while digging. I brought it straight to you. Qingxiu nodded, once the luminous pearls are made, I'll give one each to your sons. Taiju waved his hands quickly, no, no. Such a precious thing, I can't accept it. Lord Marquis, to put it plainly, my family comes from peasant roots. My sons were lucky to be born in your fief at Sanha village. They won't lack food or clothing. I've never seen real money, but I know the saying, a man with treasure invites trouble. Lord Marquis, you fed my family and taught my brother how to make top-quality steel. I'm already grateful. Please don't give me any luminous pearls. Just grant me a few dozen pounds of wine, I'll be more than satisfied. With that, Taiju looked at him expectantly. Qingxiu laughed loudly, all right. From now on, you can drink freely from the brewery, just don't waste any. And for family gatherings, take wine from there. Go get 500 silver taels from the accountant. Taiju beamed and bowed, thank you, Lord Marquis. Good, go on now. Taiju left, and Qingxiu returned to his room to draw some blueprints. Then he summoned old Wei 9. Seeing such a large piece of luminous stone, Wei was shocked beyond words. Qingxiu instructed, find a master craftsman and make what's on the blueprint. Use the leftover bits to make luminous pearls the size of goose eggs. Embed them like we do the jade brushes, but make sure they're finely made. Wei's eyes lit up, and he happily hugged the fluorite and left. Qingxiu returned to his room and read Li Anren's letter. Smiling, he wrote a reply and sent a family servant to deliver it to the Li household. After staying at the Qing residence all day, Qingxiu took some homemade dishes and wine to Zhao village before nightfall. The ice in the house had only half melted despite the day's heat. It would likely last till tomorrow morning. The entire house felt refreshingly cool, like having air conditioning. The estimated temperature was around 20 degrees. After sunset, the temperature dropped further. A table was set in the courtyard. 2 fire pits lit up the surrounding wooden frames. The firelight made Li Yuqing's beautiful face glow brightly, stunning and enchanting. Li Yuqing couldn't hold her liquor. Just one small cup turned her face red and made her a little tipsy, though she remained fairly clear-headed. After the meal, Qingxiu stood up and said, Aunt Qing, it's getting late. We should rest. Li Yuqing nodded softly and shyly followed Qingxiu inside. Once the door was closed, she rose on tiptoe to kiss him. Qingxiu perked up and reached out with his Enlushan claw. In moments, Li Yuqing's body softened like mud. Just as Qingxiu was about to lift her and head for the clouds, Li Yuqing weakly pushed him away, blushing, husband, wait. Let me light the candles. She found the fire striker and lit 2 candles. Qingxiu chuckled, lighting candles, does Aunt Qing want to watch her husband discipline her? Li Yuqing bit her lip and shook her head, slowly removing her clothes. What she wore underneath made Qingxiu's heart skip a beat, lime green bra and garter stockings. Seeing his reaction, Li Yuqing smiled knowingly, covering her mouth, I knew it. You always say you're blind, but you see everything clearly. Otherwise, why would you send me so many colors of garter stockings? Qingxiu frowned, I don't know whether you're adorably dumb or actually smart. You figured it out and gave me no face. I'll have to punish you properly. Very soon, Li Yuqing was moaning in his arms, husband? I'm leaving soon. Please, don't hold back tonight. All right, as you wish. Late into the night, Li Yuqing was thoroughly dealt with. She had no strength left in her body and finally fell into a deep, satisfied sleep with a look of exhaustion on her face. The next morning, before dawn, Qingxiu was awakened by a strange sensation. He looked down and saw a head bobbing up and down in the mortal realm. Li Yuqing seemed to sense something. She raised her eyes and, seeing that Qingxiu was awake, her face flushed like she was drunk. Yet she did not stop her wake-up service. Qingxiu patted her head and said with a wry smile, "First thing in the morning, are you serious? Good thing I'm young and strong, or you'd have worn me to death." Last night, Qingxiu had only given her a bit of guidance, never expecting that Li Yuqing would have such talent, able to infer much from a little. Qingxiu felt like he'd struck gold. Though he had only taught her once, Li Yuqing had already mastered it with ease. When the clouds cleared and the rain ceased, Qingxiu ordered the nearby guards to return to Chang'an and bring Xiao Shuixian here. He also had breakfast delivered from the Qing residence in Chang'an. After eating breakfast with Li Yuqing, Xiao Shuixian was brought over. "Master." Seeing her long-lost master, Xiao Shuixian cried tears of joy and threw herself into her arms, sobbing softly. Li Yuqing's eyes turned slightly red as well. She patted Xiao Shuixian's back to comfort her. "Silly girl, isn't master fine now?" Xiao Shuixian raised her tearful eyes, full of worry, and asked, "Master, you've suffered." She nervously glanced at Qingxiu and asked softly, "He didn't bully you, did he?" Li Yuqing trembled slightly, her pretty face turning red, and said in a teasing tone, "He did. He bullied me more times than I can count." Xiao Shuixian, flustered, spread her arms to shield her master and said bravely, "You stop bullying my master. If you have the guts, then bully me instead. I'll take her place." Li Yuqing's face froze with an awkward expression. Qingxiu chuckled and said, "Aunt Qing, you've got a good disciple, still protecting you at a time like this. Such deep affection between master and disciple. This scoundrel really would do anything to get his rice bowl." Li Yuqing looked tenderly at the back of Xiao Shuixian's head and said gently, "Yes, Xianer has grown up with me since she was little. We're like mother and daughter. I've always treated her like my own." Hearing this, Qingxiu's smile deepened. Li Yuqing pulled Xiao Shuixian aside and said with a smile, "Xianer, master was just joking with you. Husband didn't bully me. He treats me very well." "That's good." Xiao Shuixian's hand clutched her chest and then froze. Her beautiful eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at her master. "Master, what did you say? You call him husband?" Li Yuqing's eyes were full of shyness as she said to Qingxiu, "I have a few things to say to Xianer. Husband, please excuse us." "All right," Qingxiu nodded with a smile. "You two talk. I'll be outside. Call me when you're done." With that, Qingxiu left the courtyard. Li Yuqing pulled Xiao Shuixian into the room and carefully explained everything. After listening, Xiao Shuixian stood dumbfounded. "So Mr. Qing became master's husband? He's my master father?" Li Yuqing froze, speechless, and said, "How could he be your master father?" Xiao Shuixian replied blankly, "Then what do I call him? Uncle? Or father?" At this, even Xiao Shuixian blushed. Li Yuqing sighed, "Just call him Mr. Qing. Xianer, I've lived foolishly for over 30 years. Only recently have I realized how happy it is to be a woman with a husband. If I'd known, I'd have gladly given up being a saintess. It's a shame I only tasted this happiness when I'm already aging. Xianer, I have a few words for you." "Please, master," Xiao Shuixian replied blankly. Li Yuqing's expression was complicated. She leaned in and whispered a few words into Xiao Shuixian's ear. Xiao Shuixian trembled, her moist cheeks flushing red. She stepped back in shock and said, "Master, what did you say? Serve him?" Li Yuqing said regretfully, "Xianer, you don't understand. Master will grow old soon. One day he'll no longer want me. When that day comes, where will I go? You're different. You're still young. If I don't rely on you, who can I rely on? But," she added sorrowfully, "I won't force you to do anything you dislike. If you think you can like him, then agree. If not, just say no. Whatever you choose, master will support you." Xiao Shuixian lowered her head, face flushed, biting her lip in silence. Li Yuqing smiled gently, "All right, I understand. Soon I will leave Chang'an and return to the Miao village. When I return, I will be the leader of the Wuzhu sect. Since you don't want to serve him, I'll make you the saintess for now. In a few years, the position will be yours." "No," Xiao Shuixian said anxiously, "you'll pass the position to me in a few years? But what about you, master?" Li Yuqing's face reddened. Glancing at the door, she whispered, "Naturally, I'll follow my husband." Xiao Shuixian opened her mouth, then shook her head firmly, "I don't want that. If I become the Wuzhu sect saintess, I'll definitely be the next leader. But if you follow your husband and leave me alone in the Miao village, I don't want that. I don't want to be separated from you." This, Li Yuqing looked troubled. Xiao Shuixian blushed, lowered her head, and softly said, I'm willing to follow master's arrangement." Li Yuqing was slightly surprised but gently nodded. Then she opened the door and walked out. Qingxiu saw them coming out one after the other. Li Yuqing looked reluctant, while Xiao Shuixian lowered her head, face red. He understood immediately. Li Yuqing, carrying her travel bag, stared blankly at Qingxiu. Then, as if no one else was around, she rushed into his arms. Raising her head again, they shared a kiss, boldly and passionately. Xiao Shuixian turned away. The nearby guards also looked to the sky. Ah, today's weather is nice. Look at that bright sun. Idiot, it's a cloudy day. Really? Haha, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe? You definitely got it wrong. Li Yuqing ended the kiss and reluctantly said, Husband, I'm off. Once things in the Miao village are settled, I'll come back to find you as soon as possible. Please take care of Xiener. Qingxiu cupped his hands to Elder Zhang and said, Elder, I'll have to trouble you. Elder Zhang returned the gesture, Don't worry, Lord Marquis. I won't let the fourth madam fall into danger. If anyone dares harm her, they'll have to step over my dead body first. Li Yuqing was surprised, Husband, what's the meaning of this? Qingxiu smiled, I'm worried you might not be able to handle any unexpected situations in the Miao village. Elder Zhang is highly skilled, he'll protect you. That way, I can rest easy. Li Yuqing looked moved, Thank you, Husband. I'm leaving now. Sorry to trouble you, Elder Zhang. Elder Zhang grinned, Miss is now our Lord Marquis fourth madam. Protecting you is my duty. Then the two of them rode off on swift horses and disappeared from sight. Qingxiu turned to glance at the house that had brought him so much joy and smiled slightly, deciding to have Lu Yunyan move in a few days later. Since she wanted to take her senior's place, let it be as she wished. But it was time to warn Xiao Shuixian. Qingxiu looked serious and said, Today's events, I don't want your master aunt or Dan Xiaoro to know. Understand? Already timid, Xiao Shuixian panicked slightly and nodded quickly. Qingxiu was satisfied with the effect. At least she wouldn't talk. Poor, simple Xiao Shuixian. She didn't even understand why what happened today couldn't be told to her master aunt or Dan Xiaoro. She didn't understand at all. The story of Li Gang dreaming of an immortal bestowing a divine brush had been spreading like wildfire in Chang'an. But a recent rumor was even more explosive. Word on the street said Li Gang's grandson had gained enlightenment from the divine brush, a chance to become a sage, but also ended up with a recurring madness. The cause, it was said, was the curse brought by the divine brush. So, Li Gang planned to take the divine brush to Baiweiju and sell it through an auction. At present, no one really knew what an auction was, so people became very curious about the event at Baiweiju. However, another piece of news followed, only those holding a Baiweiju membership card could attend the auction, which instantly discouraged all those who just wanted to join the fun. It's worth noting that since Baiweiju opened 7 days ago, it had become wildly popular in Chang'an for its complete excellence in color, aroma, and taste. Its stir-fried dishes were something no one in Chang'an had ever seen before, and the prices were so high that ordinary folks didn't even dare to approach. A simple stir-fried vegetable dish could cost several hundred coins, and an average meal would cost a few strings of cash. Baiweiju quickly overtook the high-end restaurant Shixianglu in status. Its interior design also left Shixianglu far behind. Moreover, Baiweiju implemented a membership system. It didn't accept walk-in customers, but anyone could pay to become a privileged member. There were 4 levels of membership. The lowest, silver card, cost 100 taels of silver and gave a 10% discount on meals. The middle tier, gold card, cost 1,000 taels and gave 20% off. The high tier, jade card, cost 5,000 taels and gave 30% off. The top tier, Supreme Member, cost 10,000 taels, this gave a 50% discount, plus live performances by beautiful female musicians and dancers. The atmosphere was stunning. There were rumors that Baiweiju was actually opened by the royal family. Because of its unique cooking methods and full sensory experience, many believed it served imperial cuisine, and believed it firmly. Suddenly, becoming a Baiweiju member became a status symbol. In 7 days, hundreds had signed up. Nearly 100 people signed up every day, which kept the managers extremely busy. Just from membership fees, Qingxiu had already earned tens of thousands of taels of silver. Yes, Baiweiju was founded by him. A month earlier, Qingxiu had asked Yunyang to find a spacious shop, said to be a famous brothel from the previous dynasty. The building was constructed in a courtyard style. The ground floor had a high central platform, with 4 staircases leading up to the second floor. The lower floor had a dining hall and dozens of rooms, while the upper level had corridors and many private rooms. The scale was impressive. After being remodeled by Qingxiu, this large brothel was transformed into the Baiweiju restaurant. Even by modern standards, it could be considered a 3- or 4-star venue, and its renovation style resembled that of an auction house. Even the servers at Baiweiju were young women dressed in fine clothes and good-looking. They were all professionally trained, becoming a beautiful sight within the restaurant. Any customer who had been there once became a loyal fan. Why? First, the taste was superb. Second, from server to manager, all were beautiful women. Third, in such hot weather, Baiweiju had filled the entire building with ice to cool things down. Such extravagance was shocking. Some high-ranking nobles criticized Li Gang for being rich and extravagant, claiming he had built such a luxurious restaurant. Poor Li Gang became Qingxiu's scapegoat. In return, Qingxiu gave Li Gang a Super Supreme membership, allowing him to eat there for free. However, Li Gang had been too busy with government affairs to visit. On the other hand, Qingxiu's father-in-law, Zhang Sun Wuji, visited almost daily. Of course, he paid for his meals, he could afford a few taels per meal. Still, when Qingxiu heard this, he granted him a lifetime free dining membership. Even if Zhang Sun Wuji brought his entire family, they wouldn't eat much, and this was considered giving face to Zhang Sun Pingting. Because of this, Zhang Sun Wuji often bragged about not having to pay at Baiweiju, making many of his colleagues jealous. Baiweiju's business was booming. From opening time every morning, there wasn't an empty seat. Qingxiu was already planning a second Baiweiju branch and had Su Xiaochun training new managers and staff, while Yun Yang and Zhang Sun Pingting were scouting new locations. After news spread that Li Gang would auction the divine brush at Baiweiju in 3 days, major literary clans began preparing gold and silver, eager to bring the brush home. No surprise, rumors claimed the brush was miraculous. Some even claimed that whoever obtained it would instantly gain wisdom and become a great literary figure. 3 days passed quickly, and today was the auction day. Due to curfew, the auction was scheduled for midday. Early in the morning, Baiweiju's entrance was already packed with people and carriages. Li Yuan and Li Shimin brought their families to Baiweiju. Besides Empress Zhang Sun and Princess Li Liju, they brought their 3 sons, Crown Prince Li Chengqian, Prince of Wei Li Tai, and Prince of Shu Li Ku. Zhang Sun Wuji and Fang Xianling accompanied Li Shimin. As soon as they stepped into Baiweiju's hall, a refreshing coolness hit them, making Li Shimin gasp. Li Shimin looked at Zhang Sun Wuji and Fang Xianling in shock and asked, "In this scorching weather, how is it so cool in here?" Zhang Sun Wuji, having been several times, pointed at the moat-like trench around the central platform and said with a smile, "Your Majesty, it's because they placed a lot of ice here. That's why Baiweiju is so cool inside." Li Shimin asked doubtfully, "Does Qing Marquis also have an ice cellar?" Fang Xianling sighed, "Qing Marquis is so extravagant, this place is like a noble's mansion. Even if he has an ice cellar, with this level of consumption, it'll soon be depleted." Zhang Sun Wuji said with a wry smile, "Your Majesty, Qing Marquis doesn't have an ice cellar. Pingting told me he mastered a miraculous method of making ice with saltpeter. He can produce thousands of pounds of ice daily by himself." What? Li Shimin was stunned. Qing Marquis can make ice in this kind of heat? Fang Xianling kept gasping. Li Yuan, however, was unimpressed. "That's nothing surprising. The ice here is just a drizzle. You might not know, but in Sanha village, every household receives hundreds of pounds of ice every day to stay cool." Heavens! Fang Xianling exclaimed, unable to imagine it. An entire village, hundreds of households, all having ice daily, this was more luxurious than any noble's life. Li Shimin was dumbfounded. Zhang Sun Wuji had been here many times before, so he confidently went straight to the counter and asked one of the female managers, "Miss Yuchan, has your lord arrived?" Miss Yuchan's full name was Li Yuchan. Like many of the female staff here, she was a slave bought from a broker by Su Xiaochun. She was originally the daughter of a high official family who had committed a crime. Because of her beautiful appearance, graceful temperament, and clever mind, Su Xiaochun had trained her to become a fully independent head manager. She knew Zhang Sun Wuji's identity. Seeing how respectfully he treated the man beside him, she immediately guessed who the other man was. She shook her head and smiled sweetly, "Lord Zhang Sun, our marquis lives far from here and hasn't arrived yet. But he already gave instructions, as long as the guests are brought by you, they are to be served in the VIP rooms. Please, come with me." Zhang Sun Wuji felt especially flattered and nodded with a smile, "Thank you for arranging it, Miss Yuchan." He turned and said to the others, "There are too many people and prying eyes here. Let's go upstairs." After arranging for Li Shimin's party, Li Yuchan went downstairs and saw Qingxiu entering Baiweiju through the back door with 2 guards. She walked up smiling and said, "Marquis, Lord Zhang Sun has arrived with some honored guests. They're already seated in VIP room number 1. "Understood." Qingxiu nodded. "Yuchan, have some chilled plum drinks prepared and sent up." Then Qingxiu went upstairs and entered VIP room number 1. Once inside, he bowed and said, "Greetings to your Majesty, to the Chief Minister, and to Lord Yu." Li Shimin waved his hand and smiled. No need to be so formal, Marquis Qing. We heard you're hosting an auction, and I wanted to come and see something new. But I didn't expect your baiweiju to be so luxurious. No wonder so many flock to it, even I'm amazed. Qingxiu replied modestly, Your Majesty flatters me. In front of your Majesty, how could I speak of luxury? Fang Xianling looked at the large jars of ice with envy and said, With so much ice used for cooling, you still say it's not luxury? Your baiweiju is simply heaven on earth. Li Shimin's eyes sparkled and asked, Marquis Qing, I heard from Fui that you have a method for making ice using saltpeter? Qingxiu had already guessed Li Shimin would ask this. He had no intention of keeping the saltpeter ice-making method secret. Even if he tried, he couldn't. So he smiled and said, It's simple. Just place saltpeter into a vat of water, put a copper basin filled with water on top, cover it, and before long, it'll freeze. Li Shimin nodded gratefully, Then I'll have people try this method when I return. He had only asked casually and didn't expect Qingxiu to be so open about it, which surprised him. Zhang Sun Wuji and Fang Xianling also silently memorized the process, planning to try it at home. Empress Zhangxuan's eyes lit up and said, Making ice in summer, if you use it to sell shaved ice drinks, it could be a good business. Has Marquis Qing thought of that? If she could think of it, surely Qingxiu had too? But making a little money from cooling drinks wasn't worth his attention. Just then, there was a knock at the door. After getting permission, several staff entered the room. Li Yuchan came in with a few attractive waitresses, each carrying a jug of chilled sour plum drink, which they placed beside each seat on small side tables. Li Yuan curiously opened a jug lid and sniffed. What is this? It smells nice. Qingxiu smiled, Your Highness, this is a drink I invented, chilled sour plum soup. It's refreshing, quenches thirst, and most importantly, it tastes great. Li Yuan poured a cup and took a sip. His eyes lit up. Sweet and sour, cool and thirst-quenching, very good. Li Shimin, Fang Xianling, and Zhang Sun Wuji all tasted it and praised it. Only Empress Zhang Sun looked a bit awkward. Just moments ago, she had talked about selling ice water for profit, and now they brought out this high-end drink. With something this refined, who would still buy plain ice water? Li Lizzie took a big sip, then excitedly said, Mother, this sour plum soup is delicious. Try it. Empress Zhang Sun took a sip and felt elated. She put down the cup and sighed, Just now I mentioned making money from ice water, yet Marquis Qing brought out this heavenly drink. Truly, I feel ashamed. Hearing her slightly resentful tone, Qingxiu quickly said with a smile, If your Majesty likes it, I'll have someone bring you the recipe. You can make it for the princes and princesses at home. The Empress smiled, Then thank you, Marquis Qing. Zhang Sun Wuji quietly pulled Qingxiu aside, rubbing his hands and said, Son-in-law, can you give me the recipe for this sour plum drink too? I'd like to open a drink shop. You know, since you revealed the steel forging technique, it nearly ended our family's steel business. Our income suddenly dried up. I have to find a way to earn a little money to support the household. His face showed embarrassment as he spoke. Qingxiu smiled bitterly, That was indeed my oversight. But this drink business is small. If you're interested, I have a much bigger one to share with you. Let's talk after the auction. Zhang Sun Wuji's eyes lit up. He thought to himself, My daughter married the right man. By now, baiweiju was packed with people, hundreds gathered, all interested in the auction. Despite the crowd, thanks to all the ice, it felt like air conditioning, refreshingly cool. The host of today's auction was baiweiju's head manager, Li Yuchan. She wore an elegant light blue dress, looked calm and confident as she walked up to the round platform. Originally a highborn young lady, she now radiated an air of a powerful businesswoman after months of dealing with merchants. Despite facing so many people, she remained composed and poised. Qingxiu praised her silently, she was the perfect auctioneer. Li Yuchan stood at the front of the stage, bowed slightly, then smiled gracefully and said, Welcome, everyone, to the auction hosted by baiweiju. I am Li Yuchan, head manager of baiweiju. I'm sure many of you don't yet know how an auction works, so I'll briefly explain. We set a starting price for an item, and everyone bids higher. The highest bidder wins. Her words caused some commotion, but the crowd soon quieted down, eager to see what would be auctioned. Li Yuchan smiled confidently, There will be 2 auction items today. To save time, we'll start with the first round now. As she spoke, a server carried a tray covered with black cloth onto the platform and placed it in the center. Then staff dimmed the light by closing the translucent doors and windows, plunging the hall into semi-darkness. What's going on? Why is it suddenly so dark? Hey, everything was fine, why shut the doors? What is baiweiju doing now? Li Yuchan struck a gong, and the hall went silent again. She smiled, Everyone, please calm down. Let me introduce the first item up for auction. This is a rare treasure of the world, named glazed bright moon pearl. No one knows its origin, it was a treasure accidentally obtained by our master. He named it glazed bright moon pearl. As she finished speaking, she lifted the black cloth with her jade-like fingers. Instantly, a dazzling light burst forth, covering the entire hall in a radiant glow. The hall fell completely silent, only heavy breathing remained. Over 100 eyes were fixed on the display platform. The pearl, encased in a layer of transparent glaze and glowing green, looked incredibly round and translucent. The crowd immediately became restless. My heavens, such a supreme treasure within. A luminous pearl, a night pearl. No doubt it's a night pearl, but why is there a layer of glaze around it? Look, the glaze is wrapped around it. I've seen many Persian traders sell glazed pieces, but never one with such quality. Totally natural, truly a rare heavenly treasure. Behind the railing on the second-floor balcony, a middle-aged man approaching 40 stared at the pearl encased in transparent glass with hot eyes and rapid breath, murmuring, "Heavens! What a treasure this is! I, Chai Xiao, have never seen such a huge luminous pearl. That would be remarkable, but this one is wrapped in transparent glaze. Truly a marvel, a marvel." Next to Chai Xiao, his companion Ling Xiaogong looked stunned and swallowed before saying, "Chai Xiao, not only have you never seen one. I pride myself on seeing many treasures, but I've never encountered such a supreme artifact before." Yu Qigong mockingly said, "Chai Xiao, you might as well secretly get rid of your family's luminous pearl. Compared to this one, yours is nothing." "Exactly." Chai Xiao smiled bitterly, "Compared to this treasure before us, ours is nothing." On the other side, Li Shimin and his second son stared in shock at the luminous pearl. Fang Xianling and Zhangsun Wuji were equally astonished. Empress Zhangsun gasped, unable to close her mouth. She looked at Qingxiu and exclaimed, "Marquis Qing, such a supreme treasure, you dare to auction it off? You're just ruining a heavenly gift." Li Shimin grimly said, "You whelp, with such a treasure, why didn't you present it earlier? I'd pay whatever price." Qingxiu looked innocent, "Your Majesty, it's just one pearl, no need for drama. Keeping it gains nothing. Better to sell it for some silver to support the household, we're almost broke." At this, Li Shimin nearly kicked him in frustration. Li Shimin glared and said through puffed cheeks, "If you're nearly broke, how do the common people survive?" It wasn't just nobles eyeing the pearl. Merchants downstairs were nearly crazy, eyes red, staring intensely and wishing to claim it instantly. Some merchants, rich but with nothing but money, had a habit of collecting rare treasures. Many came to this auction solely hoping to acquire the divine brush, some were also drawn by the pearl. In a corner on the first floor, 3 clan heads of the 5 great families were breathing heavily from excitement. This Baiweiju organizer is serious, such a supreme treasure up for auction. If my goal weren't the divine brush, I'd fight for this glazed luminous pearl too. Zheng Yu, of the Zheng clan in Yinyang, Winston said, "Looks like I'm destined to battle over such a treasure." Soon the uproar over the pearl faded like a tide receding. One merchant stood excitedly and asked, "Miss Yuchan, how much is this glazed bright moon pearl starting at?" Li Yuchan smiled sweetly, "This item is our master's cherished possession, sacrifice made only because of urgent need for funds. The pearl is perfectly natural, a marvel beyond human craft. Starting bid is 50,000 strings, and each increment not less than 1,000. Now, the auction begins." Li Yuchan tapped the platform and invited bids with a gesture. Bids poured in below. 51,000. 55,000. 60,000. At 60,000, Li Shimin's second son unexpectedly called out, 70,000. Qingxiu nearly gasped, his lip twitched. Li Shimin glared at him grieved, "Marquis Qing, what about 100,000 strings? Sell it to me?" "Why?" Qingxiu replied dumbly, "Your Majesty needs only a pearl, why?" Li Shimin glared, "Do I not love it? Just say, 100,000, yes or no." Qingxiu responded, "Your Majesty, our Tang treasury has only recently regained wealth. Royal funds should benefit the people. 100,000 strings could save thousands during famine." Li Shimin's expression stiffened. Reluctantly, he nodded, "You're right. I shouldn't waste the money. But," he forced a sad smile, "but I do genuinely love this item." Empress Zhangsun said concernedly, "Your Majesty, Marquis Qing is correct. You shouldn't waste so much money here. That sum might better serve to equip our border soldiers with armor and swords." "Yes, what the Empress says is true." Though Li Shimin spoke so, his eyes remained filled with reluctance. Qingxiu leaned in and said softly, "Your Majesty, truth be told, this kind of item will flood the market soon and lose all value." Li Shimin looked stunned. Seeing Qingxiu's playful smile, realization dawned. Li Yuan stepped up, slapping Qingxiu's shoulder and jesting, "Young Qing, if you own more than one such pearl, after all, we're old friends, you could gift me 10 or 8 of them?" Qingxiu retorted, "Your Majesty, do you think these are vegetables from a market?" Li Yuan chuckled, "If not 10, 1 or 2 will do." "You want to steal one?" Qingxiu cocked his head. Li Yuan stroked his beard, "All right, fine, you cheapskate. After I gave you such a large glazed pearl." Qingxiu sneered, "That pearl? I threw it into a pit to feed the fish." "What? Hee hee, just joking. Let's enjoy the auction." To prevent Li Yuan and Li Shimin from blocking his profit, Qingxiu tactfully changed the subject. "I bid 80,000. 85. The bidding continued madly. After about the length of a stick of incense, the price reached 120,000 strings. Actually, only a few wealthy bidders remained. From the start perhaps only 10 or so bid, at the end only 2 or 3 rich merchants, red-faced and hesitant, dared push higher. Li Yuchan saw no further bids and smiled. "This Persian merchant bids 120,000 strings. Any further offers?" Qingxiu followed her finger and nearly twitched at his lip. Ah, it was that bearded Persian who tried to sell him a flawed glazed pearl before and lost his teeth. Qingxiu remembered his name, Sillyhad. He normally sold glazed pearls, why is he interested now? But Qingxiu saw something in Sillyhad's expression, astonishment and excitement. Sillyhad couldn't understand why a luminous pearl appeared inside glaze. If he brought this thing back to Persia to study, he might master this technique. If he mastered such an advanced technique, he could make more money in the Tang. Sillyhad's face showed not only shock, but deep excitement. "This man, Sillyhad, has bid 120,000 strings. Is there any higher bid?" Li Yuchan picked up the small hammer and called out with a smile, 120,000 strings, first call. Qingxiu hurriedly leaned over to Li Yuan and whispered something. Li Yuan looked troubled and said, "Young Qing, isn't this a bit much? He's at least a Persian merchant, from a friendly nation to our great Tang. Don't you feel guilty scamming him like this?" Zhang Sun Wuji, standing nearby, smiled lightly and said, "Son-in-law, let me handle it." He stepped to the railing and said calmly, 150,000 strings. The whole room gasped, everyone turning to look at Zhang Sun Wuji. Qingxiu, who was standing beside him, tactically avoided attention. Being seen by others was fine, what mattered most was avoiding detection by the Persian merchant. Otherwise, he'd be stuck with the luminous pearl. Sillyhad didn't even lift his head but spoke quickly in Persian to the translator beside him. The translator immediately said, "Mr. Sillyhad raises the bid to 160,000 strings." Zhang Sun Wuji snorted coldly, "This is a supreme treasure of the great Tang. How can we allow a foreign barbarian to take it away? I bid 180,000 strings. I don't believe a mere Persian merchant can match that." His words sparked a wave of approval, making Zhang Sun Wuji feel refreshed and proud. On the other side, Chai Xiao, who had also wanted to compete, nearly twisted his nose in anger and gave up bidding, muttering inside, "Does Zhang Sun Wuji even have that much money?" Sillyhad, hearing the translator's words, cautiously looked up, his face full of hesitation. Though he wanted to take the item back to Persia for study and reproduce many copies, he dared not offend a Tang noble. Last time, he had his teeth knocked out and still had nightmares about it. Since then, he rarely sold glazed pearls himself, he left that to others. But greed always overpowers reason. Sillyhad gave in and raised 2 fingers to the translator. The translator said, "Mr. Sillyhad is willing to bid 200,000 strings." This stunned the crowd. My heavens! A 200,000 string bid. This Persian merchant is really that rich? Of course he is, he's the most famous glass trader in Chang'an. Over 80% of the city's glass beads come from him. He's said to have millions of strings of silver, wealth enough to rival a nation. Tisk, even trading across countries doesn't usually bring that much. This Persian made all that just in the Tang. The crowd eyed the Persian merchant with envy. Zhang Sun Wuji, upon hearing the price, just smiled lightly and stopped bidding. Li Yuchan's palms were soaked in sweat, but she still maintained her smile. The Persian merchant bids 200,000 strings. Is there any higher offer? 200,000 strings, first call. 200,000 strings, second call. 200,000 strings, third call. Sold. As Li Yuchan's gavel fell, the bid was officially concluded. The Persian merchant Shili had a look of excitement on his face. Li Yuchan said, "After the auction ends, Mr. Sillyhad may bring the silver to Bai Weiju to claim his item." She glanced around and said with a smile, "Next, we auction today's second and final item. This item has no name. It is entrusted to Bai Weiju for sale by the great Confucian master, Li Gang. This is a divine brush, bestowed upon Master Li Gang in a dream by an immortal. According to the immortal Wen Chu who appeared in his dream, possessing the divine brush signifies the orthodox lineage of Confucianism. Whoever holds it is acknowledged by heaven as the leader of Confucianism. Reportedly, Master Li Gang's eldest grandson, Mr. Li Anren, while holding this brush, comprehended the path of becoming a sage. Truly a divine item granted from heaven, holding it awakens the mind and allows one to grasp knowledge beyond that of ordinary people. After this explanation, many scholars' eyes lit up, trembling with excitement. The 3 clan leaders of the 5 surnames and 7 clans also trembled with excitement. Li Yuchan continued, "This is a one-of-a-kind item. There will never be a second divine brush. If you wish to possess it, this is your only chance. Don't miss the opportunity to become the leader of Confucianism." Facing the crowd's questioning stares from upstairs, Qingxiu kept smiling. It must be said, Li Yuchan was excellent at promoting a product. Of course, this was a sales skill taught by Qingxiu himself. A bit of exaggeration often worked wonders. Sure enough, those scholars became frenzied, repeatedly asking for the starting price. Li Yuchan struck the gong, then waited for silence before saying, "Master Li Gang regards wealth as dirt and didn't want the divine brush to be tainted by the stink of money. However, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Master Li does love reading, so he decided the starting bid for the brush is 100 rare book manuscripts. Each increment must be no less than 100 volumes. Bidding starts now." Scholars who had come prepared with money were dumbfounded. How could they possibly produce 100 rare book manuscripts? At most, their families had 8 or 10 volumes, and many were duplicates found in other families' collections. "I've already borrowed from all my relatives, now you tell me no silver, only rare books? God. I also borrowed from everyone I know to gather 50,000 strings, and now the starting bid isn't even silver. Is there no justice left in the world?" Middle-aged scholars and young students alike clutched their chests in frustration, faces twisted as if they'd swallowed dung. Zheng Yu, Wang Shutai, and Lu Yuxing, leaders of the 5 surnames and 7 clans, exchanged glances, clearly delighted. Lu Yuxing exclaimed, "I was just worrying about raising money, turns out the starting bid is rare books. Wonderful." Wang Shutai hesitated, "But 200 rare books all at once, that's a lot. Even our clans have just 1,000 or so in total. Giving away 200. Zheng Yu squinted and smiled, "Then maybe it's best if you bow out of the competition, Brother Wang." Wang Shutai's face stiffened, then he said resolutely, "Compared to those books, I'd rather understand the path to sagehood through the divine brush. A few hundred rare books mean nothing. I bid 200 rare book manuscripts," he declared. 300. Zheng Yu immediately followed, his gaze at the other 2 growing colder. Compared to profit, old friendship meant little now. Lu Yuxing snorted and stood up. "I bid 500 rare book manuscripts." The bidding drew everyone's attention. People wondered, what kind of great families could offer 500 rare book manuscripts? These weren't just books. Rare manuscripts are those with extremely limited surviving copies and unique intellectual value. Though backups were often made, the content itself remained exclusive and never shared publicly. That's why such rare books were monopolized by the 5 surnames and 7 clans. Ling Yuan and Linger both understood clearly that today's auction was a big trap dug by Qingxiu for the 5 surnames and 3 clans. But what they didn't expect was that he would not take a single coin for auctioning the divine brush. He only wanted rare original books, which made Ling Yuan and Linger look at him with new respect. Linger asked softly, "How does the Marquis Qing intend to handle these rare original books acquired in the bidding?" Qingxiu smiled faintly and said, "Take them to examine, select the best parts, recompile, print, and distribute them, so that every impoverished scholar with patriotic ambition across the world may read them." Linger's bear-like body trembled, and with solemn expression he cupped his hands toward Qingxiu. "Sir, your high virtue, I request leave to bow to you on behalf of me." Qingxiu was astonished and lost color. He never expected Linger to bow to him at this crucial moment. One must know, there were many spectators on the 2nd floor watching the scene. The dukes who came to get excitement also happened to see it. Whether it was Chai Xiao or Cheng Yaojin, or King of Hejian and King of Jiangxia, all had looks of shock on their faces. Chai Xiao pulled Cheng Yaojin and gasped, "Old Cheng, that young man with the black silk face, is he the Marquis of Lan Tian?" The Chang'an garrison needed the left and right guard generals to be stationed on duty, rotating every 3 months. It just happened that Chai Xiao was on duty these recent 3 months, and he had never seen this Marquis of Lan Tian before at the capital. Cheng Yaojin swallowed and nodded. "It is indeed that young man. How could His Majesty bow to a minister?" Chai Xiao looked horrified. "He is the son of heaven. How could he bow to a subject? My goodness!" Everyone had looks of horror as they gazed this way. Qingxiu hurried to help Linger up, giving a wry smile, "Your Majesty, you must not be so, you are the son of heaven, honored above all. How could you offer such a great bow to a subject? If some remonstrating officials see this, it would surely stir up trouble." Linger laughed heartily. "I have become accustomed to calling you Marquis Qing recently. I almost forgot that in the past I also called you Sir Qing. I once thought you held this auction to collect money from the 5 surnames and 7 prestigious lineages. But I did not expect Sir Qing to be so noble, not only taking nothing, but also announcing widely the books from the auction. I was shallow, my thinking lacked scope. Rather, I made Marquis Qing look amused. I now should bow on behalf of the impoverished scholars throughout the realm and thank you, sir, for your great righteousness." Qing Xiu felt his heart move, a sentence arose in his mind, and solemnly he said, "Your servant wishes that every sincere impoverished scholar under heaven may read, write, and study, wishes that every aspiring man may have the opportunity to enter service and benefit the people." These words moved Fang Xianling and Zhangsun Wuji standing beside him. Linger was even more moved to tears. Empress Zhangsun even wiped her eyes with reddened corners. Princess Xiangqing Ling Liju's eyes glowed with excitement, her gaze toward him held more admiration. Below, the bidding had become fervent, entering a fully heated stage. Seeing Lu Yuxing had already bid 500 rare books, Wang Shutai, unwilling to be outdone, suddenly clenched teeth and shouted loudly, "Our Taiyuan Wang family is willing to bid 600 rare original books." Wang Wuqing beside him was astonished. "Cousin, that is 600 rare original books. 3 rooms couldn't hold that many books. Our Wang lineage's total collection is only about 1,200 volumes, you're offering half at once, this. Wang Wuqing was anxious to the point of burning. Wang Shutai looked unwilling. "Wuqing, you see what this means, it means our possession of knowledge is halved. But so what? As long as we secure the divine brush, our Wang clan has a chance to fathom the path to sagehood. Our reputation will fill the world overnight, our Wang house will become the supreme academy every scholar yearns for. This price is fully bearable." Wang Wuqing reconsidered and nodded with a smile. "Your words are most true, I was the one with short-sighted vision." Wang Shutai smiled contentedly, looking at Jing Yu and Lu Yuxing, whose faces had turned unpleasant. On the platform Ling Yuchan smiled lightly. "This venerable Wang elder comes from the Taiyuan Wang clan, head of the 5 surnames and 7 prestigious. Elder Wang bids 600 rare original books. Is there a higher bid?" Zheng Yu clenched his teeth and unwillingly declared, 700 volumes. Ink scholars around gasped sharply. This was not a number to blurt out unless assured. Without strong heritage, forget 700, even 70 original books is hard. In this era, surviving volumes are extremely few, many books are still stored on bamboo slips. A single book contains at least several thousand to tens of thousands of characters, even hundreds of thousands. To transport one book's content, a whole cart may be needed. However, though paper is precious, wealthy families already made copies. Among the 5 surnames and 7 prestigious, many had backup transcriptions, some even more than one copy. Wang Shutai could not restrain disbelief. "Old Zheng, are you crazy? You bid 700? Zheng Yu's face darkened. "If you yourself bid 600, how could you not allow me to bid 700? If you can bid, why not this old man?" Lu Yuxing began to hesitate. He could fully offer 700 volumes. If Lu continues bidding, it becomes 800 rare books. Ling Yuchan had already asked if there was a higher bid. Then at this moment, in an inconspicuous corner among the crowd, a middle-aged man in scholarly robe, calm in temperament, spoke plainly, "I bid 1,000 rare original books." At once uproar. Everyone looked over. Wang Shutai, Jing Yu, and Lu Yuxing froze, all angrily turned to look. It was a stranger middle-aged gentleman with a cloud-like windy smile. On the platform Ling Yuchan raised her lips faintly in smile. "This Mr. Chui from the Chui clan of Qinghe bids 1,000 rare original books for the divine brush. Is there a higher bid?" On the second-floor corridor Cheng Yaojin looked at this middle-aged gentleman dumbfounded. He muttered, "Strange. I've seen the prominent members of the Qinghe Chui clan, but I've never seen this man." His second wife was the daughter of the Chui clan of Qinghe, raising Cheng Yaojin's status by marriage. Whenever visiting his wife's home, he went to pay respects to the Chui clan's great scholars. At this moment, he did not recognize the middle-aged gentleman before him. Wang Shutai grew anxious, whispering to Zheng Yu and Lu Yuxing, "What shall we do? The Qinghe Chui clan bids 1,000 rare books, that's absurd, right?" Zheng Yu's face turned sullen. That Chui clan, could they really produce so many rare books? Even if they empty their family treasury, it's uncertain. Lu Yuxing rose and faced the middle-aged gentleman in a serious tone. "Young sir of the Qinghe Chui clan, based on my understanding of your clan's collection, your total is at most 1,000 rare original books. You bid 1,000, can you really deliver? Don't disgrace yourself before time. The middle-aged man smiled faintly. Next to him, an elderly scholar with graying temples stood and chuckled. If Qinghe Chui clan can't produce them, isn't there our Bowling Chui clan? Why can't the two of us cooperate to win the divine brush? Lu Yuxing's expression froze, as did Wang Shutai's and Zheng Yu's. They hadn't anticipated that Qinghe Chui clan would choose cooperation with Bowling Chui clan. When Li Yuan saw this elderly scholar, his eyes nearly popped. He almost cried out, "Li Taicheng. It's you, right?" "Yes, this older scholar from the Bowling Chui clan is Li Taicheng, Li Tsuanjing." The price of the divine brush was raised to such a high level that the three clan elders, Prince Zheng, Lu, and the other, inevitably felt anxious as if their hearts were aflame. Lu Yuxing's face grew worried, and he said, "What shall we do? The Chui clan of Qinghe and the Chui clan of Bowling have joined forces. If that's the case, let alone 1,000 volumes, even if they produce 17 or 1,800 volumes, it wouldn't be a problem." A smile suddenly appeared on Wang Shutai's face. "They can unite, then why can't we unite?" Zheng Yu's eyes lit up. He nodded and smiled. "If that's so, the three of our families only need to each offer a few hundred volumes of rare original books to win the divine brush." Lu Yuxing frowned and said, "But in the end, who will the divine brush belong to?" "That's simple." Wang Shutai smiled. "We can set a rule to take turns controlling the divine brush." "What do you two think?" Zheng Yu asked. "But who goes first?" Wang Shutai continued. "We will discuss that after we win the divine brush. The urgent task now is to bid and win it. How about this, each of our families offers 400 volumes to start the bidding." Lu Yuxing looked at Zheng and Wang. The other two nodded in agreement. Only then did Lu Yuxing stand and say, "I am willing to bid 1,200 volumes." Ling Yuchan smiled faintly and hurriedly said, "This is Elder Lu Yuxing, clan head of the Lu family of Fanyang. He is willing to bid 1,200 volumes. Is there anyone willing to bid higher?" That middle-aged person from the Qinghe Chui family looked somewhat uncomfortable. Under the gaze of the three clan heads, he glanced back at the elderly man from the Bowling Chui family. Seeing that elder nod, the middle-aged man spoke, 1,400 volumes. Lu Yuxing chuckled and immediately called out, 1,500 volumes. The middle-aged person's face changed. He sat down reluctantly and began whispering to the Bowling Chui elder. All this was seen by the three clan heads, whose smiles deepened. Now it was the Chui elder's turn to stand and shout, 1,600 volumes. He glared at Lu Yuxing viciously, gritting his teeth. "Elder Lu, it's just one divine brush. No need to drive the price up so high, right? Why don't you back down a step, and our two Chui clans will certainly give you great courtesy in return." Behind Lu Yuxing, Zheng Yu sneered, "Brother Lu, they're anxious now. They're probably at their limit. Let's keep going." Lu Yuxing, as if energized, reddened and shouted loudly, 1,800 volumes. "In that calculation, each of our three families only needs to offer 600 volumes." The Chui elder and the young Mr. Chui wilted like frostbitten eggplants. Their faces turned pale as they whispered together in low tones. Young Mr. Chui said softly, "Li Tsuanjing, this is enough. If we bid further and they don't follow, things will end badly for us." Li Taicheng also spoke quietly. "Ling Yuzhang, celebrated Marquis Qing said we must drive the price to 2,000 volumes no matter what. This is only 1,800. We're still short 200 volumes. Shall each of us add 50 more?" Ling Yuzhang was, of course, Sun Simiao's disciple Ling Qiu. "And Li Tsuanjing, surely that is Li Taicheng?" Ling Qiu's mouth twitched. "Marquis Qing is too ruthless. This is trying to sink those three old men completely." Li Taicheng smiled slyly. "Let them be sunk. They're just scrawny calves." He finished speaking, removed his sly smile, immediately stood, face red and angry, and shouted, 2,000 volumes. The Chui families of Bowling and Qinghe are willing to bid 2,000 volumes. Humph. This divine brush, we are determined to get it. After saying that, Li Taicheng's face turned dark, he snorted angrily, and sat back down. Ling Qiu was completely stunned. "Wait, didn't we agree each would add 50 volumes? That would be 1,900 total. How did you suddenly bid 2,000? This might fail." Li Taicheng chuckled. "Let it fail. Anyway, the divine brush is said to remain here. If it doesn't sell today, we can sell it next time. After all, even that won't stump Marquis Qing, he has ways." Ling Qiu gave a wry smile. When Wang Shutai, Lu Yuxing, and Zheng Yu heard this bid, they were all startled, and the three began to confer. "Old Zheng, what shall we do? Each of our book collections barely contains 1,100 volumes. If we raise further, each of us must offer 700 volumes of rare books. Our collections will be greatly diminished. In future, we can no longer monopolize knowledge. Zheng Yu's face shifted uncertainly as he looked at Wang and Lu, teeth gritted. They're already at their limit. If we keep bidding, they won't be able to produce 1900 volumes, let alone 2100 rare books. But Lu Yuxing looked pained. That's 700 volumes. Wang Shutai suddenly smiled. Only 700 rare books. If we take them out, it doesn't mean we hand them out. We just show backups. The true originals are still in our hands. Lu Yuxing was speechless, but so many books going public could shatter our knowledge monopoly overnight. Lingang gained so many books, might found his own school. That is extremely unfavorable to our monopoly rule. Zheng Yu now realized this issue. He, ever scheming, fell into thought. Meanwhile, on the stage, Ling Yuchan would not allow them more time to ponder. Her excited rosy cheeks and quickened pace as she held the hammer added urgency. The two Chui elders bid 2,000 volumes of rare original books. Is there a higher bid? One time at 2,000 volumes. Ling Yuchan scanned the crowd and then softly began to speak again. 1,000 volumes, first call. She looked at the three elder masters of Zheng, Wang, and Lu. It seemed she was about to shout the third hammer strike. Even Li Taicheng and Ling Qiu were anxious, sweat in their palms. Just then Zheng Yu, deep in thought, came to himself and urgently said, "Forget the rest. Let's just win the divine brush first." As he spoke, he didn't forget to get Wang's and Lu's agreement. Seeing them nod, he hurriedly stood and said, 2,100 volumes. Li Taicheng and Ling Qiu, relieved, exchanged a smile and quietly left the crowd. Zheng Yu looked at where those two had been, found the place empty, felt unsettled but couldn't pinpoint why. Soon Ling Yuchan's voice snapped him back. 2,100 volumes, first call, second call, third call, sold. Ling Yuchan, face flushed with excitement, struck the hammer and tremblingly said, "Congratulations to Elder Zheng of the Zheng clan of Yinyang on winning the divine brush. You only need to bring your rare original books to Yiwei Pavilion and you may take the brush." Hearing this, a look of relief and slight smile appeared on Zheng Yu's face. He said, "Miss, might I try the divine brush first?" Ling Yuchan, troubled, shook her head. "I'm afraid that can't be. The divine brush has been entrusted to Yiwei Pavilion for auction. Before the bid funds are received, no one may touch the divine brush." Lu Yuxing stood displeased and said, "Then at least let us see it?" "Well, of course you may." Ling Yuchan carefully cradled the divine brush, squatting partly on the ground. The three elders approached to examine. Yes, it is the divine brush seen at Linggong's house. After observing for a while, they relaxed. Zheng Yu said to Ling Yuchan, "Within half a month, my people will deliver the 2,100 rare volumes to Yiwei Pavilion. Please notify your master, and during that time, please properly safeguard the divine brush. Rest assured, sirs, it is from me." Though Zheng Yu, Wang Shutai, and Lu Yuxing were already in their 60s or 70s, at that moment they practically ran from Yiwei Pavilion. Once they reached their lodgings, they dispatched messengers urgently to send 700 volumes of rare books to Chang'an. Later, the 6 members of the 3 families gathered together, all wearing genuine joy on their faces. Wang Buqing asked, "Sirs, when shall we go to Sanha village to confront that young Marquis of Lantian?" Wang Shutai sneered, "No rush. Once we have the divine brush, with the literary legitimacy bestowed from heaven, we'll go and eliminate his decision to teach for free. Not only ruin him, but also disgrace his name." At this, Wang Buqing, Zheng Taiming, and Lu Guangyuan all wore looks of anticipation and a glint of hatred. Speaking of the Marquis of Lantian, the wound in front of the 3 still throbbed faintly. Li Kong looked excited, as if injected with adrenaline, pacing back and forth in the room, repeatedly muttering, "Over 2,000 rare collected volumes, this can completely fill the shortage of teaching materials. Over 2,000 volumes, so many. How many talents could this help Tang to produce? Incredible, incredible, simply incredible." Fang Xianling and Zhangsun Wuji were trembling beside him. They still could not believe that the 3 clan elders of the 5 surnames and 7 prestigious families were willing to jointly produce 2,100 rare original volumes just to obtain a shared divine brush. Fang Xianling sighed, "From now on, Master Li Gang's status in the literary world will dominate alone. Back then, when I studied at the Taiyuan Wang family, I only perused a few hundred volumes yet was able to enter official service and offer counsel to His Majesty. Now suddenly so many rare books are published. Soon Tang will be filled with talents. What a magnificent sight that will be for Tang." Zhangsun Wuji's face also showed longing. Li Kong glanced meaningfully at Qing Xiu. Zhangsun Wuji seemed to realize something. First his face turned puzzled, then horrified, and he gasped. He had already guessed, this was a trap set for the 5 surnames and 7 prestigious families. Li Kong said, eyes narrowed, "Fuji, be cautious with your words. Zhang Sun Wuji wanted to ask more, but on hearing that he obediently fell silent. Fang Xianling was no fool, he immediately sensed the clue and, like Zhang Sun Wuji, showed a look of shock and turned sharply toward Qing Xiu. It seemed, he also saw through it. Li Kong chuckled, this truly is a great cause for celebration. Marquis Qing, when all is properly concluded, I will definitely reward you richly. Qing Xiu replied with a faint smile, to serve one's lord means to accept his reward, to be loyal means to do his deeds, honestly, I have long found them unpleasant. Li Kong was moved, and solemnly said, well spoken. If every subject of Tang were like Marquis Qing, how could Tang fail to prosper? Your Majesty flatters me, Qing Xiu hastily said. One person's ability is limited. If your Majesty wants to create a prosperous age, you must employ capable people. I am just an idle minor marquis with no grand ambition, in truth I can't help your Majesty much. Li Kang's mouth twitched, if even he couldn't be of use, then all civil and military officials were mere bellies and rice bags. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Enter. Li Kang said. A young woman entered, it was Li Yuchan. Li Yuchan bowed to those in the chamber, then said to Qing Xiu with a strange expression, Marquis, that Persian merchant has come to retrieve the glazed bright moon pearl, but it seems he doesn't want to pay money, he wants to trade goods instead. Upon hearing this, Qing Xiu's expression twitched, and he said in a low voice, understood. You may leave now. I will come shortly. As you wish, Yuchan takes her leave. Qing Xiu bowed, Your Majesty, I must go handle some matters of the auction. Please excuse me. But Li Kong smiled, I am very interested in your auction too, and wish to accompany Marquis Qing. I wonder if that's convenient. Qing Xiu replied, mostly convenient. Your Majesty, please. Li Kong led the way out of the box. Zhang Sun Wuji turned back to speak briefly with Li Lizhu, telling her to take the younger siblings to play here, then he followed her husband Li Kong out. Zhang Sun Wuji and Fang Xianling shamelessly followed suit, after all Li Yuan wouldn't be left out. The auction ended and attendees had long since dispersed. Byway Pavilion suspended operations. What remained were a few diners, the restaurant was filled with the scent of food making everyone intoxicated. Descending the stairs, they encountered Cheng Yaojin, Yu Qigong, Li Xiaogong and others coming down as well. Li Er signaled to them to keep silent, they understood and approached with cupped fists to pay respects, but did not speak. Li Er asked in confusion, earlier we saw Chai Xiao. Where is he now? Cheng Yaojin said, old Chai is at the barracks, still on duty. Li Er nodded, not asking further. Li Xiaogong was curious, gentlemen, where are you all headed? Li Er said, we are going to witness for ourselves how the auction transactions proceed with Marquis Qing. Others' eyes brightened and joined willingly. Li Er frowned and looked at Qing Xiu. Qing Xiu smiled and nodded. They were bold, he couldn't be rude and drive them away. Thus the group expanded again. They followed Li Yuchan to her office, elegantly and traditionally decorated. On the desk were the 4 treasures of study, also a Guqin and wall-hung paintings and a guitar. Qing Xiu had been here several times and knew Li Yuchan was skilled in pipa and guzheng. In her leisure she liked cultivating sentiment with writing, painting, and playing. Inside the room was a bearded Persian man, smiling broadly and chatteringly. When he saw the arrivals, he fell silent, looked around, saw Qing Xiu, and hid trembling in a corner as though seeing a ghost. Everyone was somewhat stunned. But the young translator from the Ministry of Hospitality bowed to Li Er, honored courtier of Honglu Temple, greetings Your Majesty. Li Er nodded politely, saying nothing more. The Honglu Temple handled foreign guests in Tang, and also translation. Some inner officials fluent in foreign languages earned silver during their rest days as translators for foreigners. This is permitted in present-day Tang. Qing Xiu's expression darkened. Li Yuchan saw his mood worsen, her tone grew calmer. She carefully pushed a sandalwood box from the desk forward and said, Marquis, this Persian merchant says he wants a trade. In exchange for your glazed bright moon pearl, he offers these glazed beads. Qing Xiu picked up a handful of glazed beads, inspected them with the celestial eye, his mouth twitching. His temper was on the verge of exploding. But when others glanced at the sandalwood box, they couldn't look away. Their eyes turned red, panting, some even gasped inwardly. My heavens! Li Yuan's eyes widened. He grabbed a handful of beads from the box, shocked, beads of such high quality. It's my first time seeing them. So many, there must be over 1,000, right? Cheng Yaojin looked astonished, so many glazed water jade beads. Could cause war between 2 nations. Li Xiaogong gasped, even just grabbing a handful, enough to feed 100 families for a year without worry. I know Persians are rich, but didn't expect them to be this lavish. Zhang Sun Wuji stared, swallowing hard, eyes fixed on the large box of glazed beads without blinking. The Empress Zhangsuan's eyes sparkled, her face read 2 words, want them. Li Er also trembled saying, wow, so many glazed beads, such fine quality, if one bead is 10,000 guan, that's nearly equal to the national treasury reserves. Marquis Qing, this Persian merchant is generous and trades goods instead of money, you've truly profited this time. With that, Li Er gazed enviously at Qing Xiu. Qing Xiu's face was so dark it seemed to drip water. These people had never seen the world. How many coins had they lost to that Persian merchant at the auction? In the corner curled against the wall, Shika had swallowed hard, head dizzy. Oh my, how did I again run into this Tang lord? Li Yuchan didn't understand why her lord's face was so dark. She softly said, Marquis, this Persian merchant is willing to trade all the glass water jade beads in that box in exchange for the glazed bright moon pearl auctioned yesterday. Qing Xiu said in a low voice, I understand. Li Yuan asked in puzzlement, Qing fellow, there are 100 of those water jade beads. Each one is so fine it must be worth 10,000 guan. You stand to gain hundreds of thousands in silver, shouldn't you be pleased? Why do you look so dissatisfied? Yes. Li Kong was also confused. So many water jade beads. I'm envious just looking at them. The Persian envoy's tribute beads aren't even this good. Why are you frowning, Marquis Qing? Empress Zhangsun reproached, you. Don't act all innocent after getting a bargain, hurry and make the exchange. Don't let that Persian merchant back out later. Then you won't even find a place to cry. Qing Xiu took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. Recently he had Wu Laojiu fire some glass beads. Not many, just over 1,000. He didn't intend to reveal this plan before offering those beads. At least not yet. He looked at Shika, who began chattering in Persian. Although modern Iranian differs from ancient Persian after 1,000 years, communication was still possible. Qing Xiu, still furious, pointed at the Persian merchant and shouted, you bastard, did you take what I said last time as my fart? You dare trick me again with these inferior items? Upon his words, the entire hall was stunned. The atmosphere was deathly quiet, as though a needle could be heard dropping. Everyone, without exception, gaped in shock. Persian language? Li Yuan's eyes were as wide as copper bells in disbelief. Qing fellow, you can speak Persian? Oh my, Marquis Qing even speaks Persian? Did Marquis Qing ever study Persian before? Marquis Qing, when did you learn Persian? I've never heard you mention it before. Li Kong looked utterly baffled. Qing Xiu shrugged, because your majesty never asked. Li Kong was deflated. Then he looked confusedly at the Honglu temple interpreter and asked, what did Marquis Qing just say? The interpreter's face was full of shock. Your Majesty, just now Marquis Qing said, you bastard, did you think my words last time were nonsense? And now you dare try to fool me again with these low-quality items? Li Kang's mouth twisted, so Marquis Qing has met this Persian merchant before? Qing Xiu's face was dark. Your Majesty, I have a grievance with him. He stepped forward 2 steps and kicked out forcefully, saying in a low voice, I don't want your cheap glass. Bring me gold and silver, 200,000 guan. 1 word less and I'll strip your skin off. The interpreter translated Qing Xiu's words again. Everyone looked at each other. Shika, terrified, nodded repeatedly, Lord of Tang, I dare not do it again. I'll go back now to get the money, guaranteed all true gold and silver. Please, Lord of Tang, don't beat me. Qing Xiu pointed toward the door and barked, take your things and get out. Shika grabbed the sandalwood box, covered it, and fled crawling. Qing Xiu told his servant, fetch 2 guards to accompany him to get the money. The servant said nothing and left with 2 guards. The hall remained silent. Li Kong first broke the silence, face suspicious, why is Marquis Qing so angry? Could it be he doesn't value these water jade beads? Qing Xiu nodded, indeed, I disdain that junk. Last time he tried to use glass beads for tea. I beat him for it. Now he dares again with such inferior beads, this is too much. Li Kong frowned, these water jade beads are extremely fine, each valuable. If Marquis Qing says they're junk, could he really have beads much better than these? Qing Xiu wanted to speak, but knew revealing that would ruin his plan, so he shook his head in silence. The more he refused to speak, the more Li Er sensed something strange. But with many people around, Li Er didn't ask more. He decided to inquire after everyone left. Yet minutes passed and no one moved. He frowned, everyone seemed so leisurely. Do you intend to linger at Iwei Pavilion? Smart ones read the hint, this was a subtle request to leave. But Yu Qigong pretended deafness, laughing, just learned Iwei Pavilion is Marquis Qing's business. I heard they serve good food. Naturally we should stay to taste then leave. Li Er's mouth twitched. Chang Yaojin also pretended ignorance and said, Marquis Qing's business, this elder should support it. Li Er realized, they wanted one more meal before leaving. Qing Xiu couldn't dodge it, so decisively said, lunchtime too. Since you honored me by visiting Yue Pavilion, I can't be stingy. Please stay for a simple meal, it's no delay. Ha! Perfectly so. Let me impose, Marquis Qing. Next time I'll get a membership card. Me too. Me too. Next time? Qing Xiu paid no mind, then instructed Li Yuchan. She stepped out and arranged the meal. Later, the group moved to the largest room on the second floor. Alcohol was needed. Since Qing Xiu's wedding last time saw Cheng Yaojin and Yu Qigong party excessively, causing public laughter, this time drinking was restrained, sipping small cups with smiles. Li Yuchan personally led dancers dressed in Western belly dance outfits, singing and dancing, and she played the pipa well. Highly spirited Li Yuan also insisted on playing the pipa more enthusiastically than Li Yuchan. Historically, Li Yuan was the best pipa player in the royal family. After dining and drinking, everyone else left, only Li Er and Zhang Sun Wuji remained. Li Er looked at Zhang Sun Wuji, puzzled. Fuji, anything else? Zhang Sun Wuji felt awkward. This is my son-in-law's domain, staying isn't inappropriate, right? He replied, Your Majesty and the Empress stayed, perhaps you have a reason too. Li Er's mouth twitched, glancing at Qing Xiu, then nodded, Indeed there is. I particularly want to understand why Marquis Qing rejects that Persian merchant's beads. Does he himself have even better water jade beads? If so, I wouldn't mind purchasing at a high price. This remark paused the laughter. Ridiculous, would Li Er spend money? He's a robber, why would he pay? Qing Xiu smiled wryly. It seems today he truly couldn't avoid it. He told Li Yuchan, Yuchan, bring someone to my private room and move my treasure chest here. Li Yuchan immediately exited. Soon she returned with 2 guards carrying a large wooden chest, which even the strong guard struggled to lift. Li Er curiously asked, Marquis Qing, what's in that treasure chest? Qing Xiu smiled faintly, since it's a treasure chest, obviously it holds treasures. He opened it, and what lay inside made everyone restless. Their gazes turned greedy and dreamy. Without exception, all began panting with excitement, shivering with intensity. The box contained nothing else but colorful glass beads, light red, cyan green, pink, transparent, multicolored, looking brilliantly stunning. Firing glass in so many colors isn't actually difficult, one only needs to sort sands from mineral deposits of different hues, then fire to produce colored glass. This large box was full of uniformly shaped glass beads, quail-egg size as if molded identically, numbering at least in the thousands. Linger and Princess Zhangsun couldn't stay seated. They jumped to their feet and hurried to the chest, eyes wide and necks craned to look inside, appearing amusingly naive. Li Yuchan hadn't expected the chest would hold priceless water jade beads. Moreover, each bead was flawless, smooth, round, with not a trace of impurity, far superior to Persian merchant Shikha's beads, many times better. Compared to the beads before them, Shikha's beads were worthless junk. Qing Xiu picked up a color-changing glass bead and waved it before Li Yuchan, smiling, Want it? Li Yuchan reflexively nodded, then blushed, quickly shook her head, and waved her hand, No, I don't want it. Haha. Qing Xiu laughed and stuffed it into her hand, Want it? Take it and play with it. You go outside now, and I'll call you if I need you. Li Yuchan, excited and blushing, clutched the color-changing bead and stammered, Thank you, Marquis. I take my leave. After she and the guard exited, she dove into her office, gazing at the bead without blinking, a look of indescribable fondness in her eyes. Heavens, the Marquis was so generous, such a perfect, flawless water jade bead, he handed it to her? And it even changes color? So much finer than the Persian merchants. Startled by this unexpected reward, Li Yuchan felt both favored and overwhelmed. Inside the box room, Linger came to himself first, eyes red, staring at Qing Xiu and panting, Marquis Qing, where did you get so many water jade beads? My heaven, it's the first time I've seen beads of such perfect quality. He grabbed a handful and inspected them, their dazzling colors almost blinded his dog eyes. Empress Zhangsun swallowed with a gulp, picked one up to examine, then sighed, mistakes come from comparisons, and humans fail comparing to others. No wonder Marquis Qing despised the Persian merchant's beads, you had such fine stock. Marquis Qing, 10,000 guan per bead, how about selling one to the palace? Empress Zhangsun, slightly nervous, asked this. She knew such quality beads would be fought over at 20,000 guan, let alone 10,000. Qing Xiu smiled, if your majesty wants to buy, then selling seems too vulgar. Which one catches your eye? I'll gift one to you, what harm is that? The empress's eyes filled with joy, you'll really give one to the palace? Truly. Thank you, Marquis Qing. Empress Zhangsun picked her favorite, a light red bead, playing with it fondly. Zhang Sun Wuji, staring dumbly at the chest of beads, red-eyed, asked, "Dear son-in-law, where did you obtain so many water jade beads? They all look identical, like they came from a mold. Could these be man-made?" Upon hearing this, Li Kong and the Empress looked at him in shock. If these beads were man-made, that's astounding. Producing water jade beads would open a door to immense wealth. Qing Xiu could become as rich as a nation. Qing Xiu nodded and lowered his voice. "Your Majesty, Empress, Minister Zhang Sun, truthfully, these glass beads were fired by me using sand." "Fired from sand? Impossible. Absolutely impossible." Empress Zhang Sun said to Li Kong, "Your Majesty, it's entirely possible. Have you ever heard Marquis Qing lie?" Li Kong trembled. "Marquis Qing, are you sure these beads were fired from sand?" Qing Xiu replied confidently, "Indeed, fired from sand, with virtually no other materials." "My heavens, how could this be?" Li Kong swayed and sat in his chair, face darkening. His eyes reddened, teeth clenched. Those damned foreign merchants and Persian traders, using sand-fired beads to swindle huge sums in Chang'an. Black-hearted. They should be executed. Death is mercy. His face went from blue to red. Empress Zhang Sun looked no less grave, expression calm as water. "Since your Majesty's ascension, when that Persian merchant first came to pay tribute, the beads he offered were poor quality. I even found grit inside, which he claimed was natural formation, claiming it made them precious. They are daring indeed, to deceive the sovereign." Li Kong, furious, smashed his teacup. "Those damned merchants, treating me like a 3-year-old. Who gave them such audacity?" Angry Li Kong resembled a roaring tyrannosaurus. Zhang Sun Wuji's face darkened. "Your Majesty, these foreign barbarians have lied to us too much. We should execute them all." Li Kong, burning with rage, stood up, "Return to the palace. I will issue an edict to beat to death all foreign merchants who dare deceive the sovereign." "Your Majesty, please wait." Qing Xiu bowed. "That action may not be wise." "What's unwise about it?" Li Kong asked, voice solemn. He was partially blinded by fury. Qing Xiu explained, "Then your Majesty would have no legal grounds to execute them. Even if you accuse them of cheating money and humiliating the sovereign, historians could criticize you for being blind to treasures. Besides," Li Kang's face darkened. "Besides what?" Qing Xiu chuckled and pointed at the box of beads. "Besides, Minister Zhang Sun fired so many glass beads with sand. If the world learns these are made from sand, who'll still pay money to buy them?" Li Kang's mouth twitched. He slammed the table angrily. "Marquis Qing, I thought you were a patriot deeply caring for Tang. I never expected you, too, to deceive Tang people with sand-fired glass like foreign merchants. Did I not look with my eyes well enough?" Qing Xiu looked stunned. Li Kong stood, emotions high. "How could you use sand-fired imitation to trick people? It's hateful. Worse, you did it without including me? Do you still regard me as your emperor?" Empress Zhang Sun giggled softly from the side. Qing Xiu's mouth twitched. He'd never seen such an audacious emperor. Regarding Li Er's shamelessness, Qing Xiu chose to ignore it. He tapped the table with his finger and laughed. "That is also the reason I chose to show my hand to His Majesty now." "Oh?" Li Er grew interested and asked eagerly, "What does Marquis Qing plan next?" Qing Xiu said, "The plan is simple. His Majesty decrees that the sale of glazed water jade pearls of quality lower than these shall be prohibited. Naturally, those low-quality water jade pearls in the hands of Persian merchants and who merchants cannot deceive anyone anymore." Li Er's eyes lit up. "That is a good idea. But how does Marquis Qing plan to sell these water jade pearls?" Qing Xiu continued, "As the saying goes, rarity makes value. Once many are available, value drops. The same rule applies to water jade pearls. So they cannot be sold all at once. A few should be sold occasionally, and not even in the same region. My plan is this: establish auctions in each prosperous town of the Great Tang. Hold an auction periodically. Whoever offers the highest price for a rare treasure wins." Empress Zhangxuan's beautiful eyes shifted, smiling sweetly. "Marquis Qing, how should the accounts be settled?" Qing Xiu smiled and counter-asked, "How does your Majesty the Empress think the accounts should be handled most properly?" Empress Zhang Sun was startled. She had not expected Qing Xiu to toss the question back to her, and reflexively said, "These water jade pearls are provided by you. Naturally, you should specify how to settle the accounts." Qing Xiu narrowed his eyes in a smile and nodded. Immediately Empress Zhangxuan's expression turned displeased. She realized she had been tricked and regretted not asking for more. Qing Xiu seized the moment and said, "Since your Majesty the Empress has said so, I will not refuse. Of the proceeds from the auction, His Majesty and my father-in-law each take 2 parts, and the remainder belongs to me." Zhang Sun Wuji's face immediately became excited. "What? I even get a share?" Li Er nodded and smiled. "These items are truly provided by Marquis Qing. I've already benefited my share, and I am satisfied. But Empress Zhangxuan's eyes shifted slyly. Suddenly she pointed at her face and solemnly said, "What about me?" A faint smile appeared at the corner of Qingxiu's mouth, and unease rose in his heart. Empress Zhangxun, looking sorrowful, said, "Marquis Qing, isn't this division somewhat improper? His Majesty and my elder brother both receive shares, but only I am excluded. How am I to deal with this? I am truly hurt." Qingxiu stared at Empress Zhangxuan's performance, her tearful, pitiful expression, and felt a bit speechless. The Empress almost choked with emotion. "At least I am the foster mother of your wife Xiao Chun. How could you treat me like this?" Qingxiu's heart skipped a beat. Foster mother? What? These four characters suddenly popped into his mind, giving him a big scare. He hurriedly threw the thought away. His eyes shifted and he laughed. "How about this, each of us three takes one part?" Li Er and Zhangsun Wuji looked somewhat stunned. Qingxiu shamelessly said, "Anyway, Your Majesty the Empress just said it. Since I provided these items, I should set the account." Empress Zhangsun felt awkward. "I feel the previous division was fine. A gentleman's word is unchangeable. Marquis Qing shouldn't go back on it." "Then that is happily decided. I will take my leave." Qingxiu couldn't argue. He grabbed the treasure chest from the ground, left swiftly, running so fast that Li Er and the others were stunned. The next day, with a decree issued, the Great Tang banned Hu and Persian merchants from selling inferior water jade pearls. Furthermore, a special department for water jade pearl appraisal was established, named the Treasure Appraisal Pavilion. Once this law was issued, all Hu and Persian merchants selling water jade pearls were stunned. They wailed and cried, but could not change the situation. It became impossible to sell secretly. Li Er also established a supervisory department for foreign merchants. Foreign merchants must be supervised when traveling. This instantly cut off the financial channels for glass merchants. They were in tears. These foreign merchants selling water jade pearls brought all their pearls to the Treasure Appraisal Pavilion. When the appraisal results came out, they were ready to die. None of the pearls reached the standards for sale. This immediately eliminated merchants' ability to cheat. It also upset wealthy buyers wanting water jade pearls. They wanted to buy a nice quality one as a gift for wife or concubine, but had no channel. On the black market, low-quality water jade pearls doubled in price, but still remained without buyers. Suddenly, water jade pearls became the most scarce commodity in Chang'an. For Qingxiu, this was of course great fortune. After understanding the new law, he could hardly stop laughing. He quickly let slip that the Baiweiju auction house's next auction would feature top-quality water jade pearls. This attracted many merchants eager to try, preparing huge sums to buy top-quality pearls. Because this auction succeeded greatly, with glazed moon pearls and divine brushes all being top goods, Baiweiju instantly became known as a place that only sells high-end goods. Qingxiu also had many adverts placed. Baiweiju products, always high quality. At the same time, he sent several shopkeepers and a few chefs escorted to open Baiweiju branches in Luoyang and Jiangnan, for which he even raised pay a lot. But raising pay was just small change for Qingxiu now. To prepare for the second auction, Qingxiu oversaw Baiweiju early this morning. In addition to Li Yuchan, the head shopkeeper, there was a deputy shopkeeper named Zhou Kaiwei, aged 18 or 19. Although plain in appearance and illiterate, her math skills were excellent. In smarts she was not inferior to Li Yuchan. At this moment, both head shopkeeper Li Yuchan and deputy Zhou Kaiwei sat in the office. This time was their most leisurely. Zhou Kaiwei stared at the water jade pearl in Li Yuchan's hand, full of envy and jealousy. "Yuchan, can you stop showing off your water jade pearl? All you do is show it off. Could it be a love token from some lover?" Li Yuchan's expression became flustered. Her pretty face reddened. "Stop speaking nonsense." Zhou Kaiwei, looking like she understood everything, joyfully dragged out the word, "Oh indeed." She moved closer, full of gossip. "Quick, tell me, who is this lover that gave you the love token? Do I know him? Is it that Lu boy of the Xinghua family who approached you last time?" Li Yuchan pinched the water jade pearl and turned her body away. Smiling with pursed lips, "Not him, and I won't tell you." Zhou Caiwei's eyes shifted. She snatched the pearl and hid it behind her back, slyly saying, "If you don't tell me, I won't give it back." Li Yuchan shyly said, "Kaiwei, give me back the water jade pearl." She stood and began struggling with Zhou Kaiwei over the pearl. But Zhou Kaiwei had raised the pearl above her head. She was so tall, 1.75 m, half a head taller than Li Yuchan. Her height and long legs gave her the advantage, so no matter how Li Yuchan tried, she could not win. "Hee hee." Zhou Kaiwei giggled, "Since you treasure this water jade pearl so much, it must have been given by Lu Xuani. You little flirt won't admit it." Li Yuchan's face turned scarlet. Angry, "Zhou Kaiwei, you're the little flirt. Give me back the water jade pearl. Here, I give it back to you. Zhou Kaiwei handed it back, enviously. Yu-chan, I envy your look so much. You've already charmed the Lu boy of the Xingua family. If you marry into the Gua household in the future, even as a concubine, it's a big leap. Don't forget me, your sister who suffered with you in the money changer's house. Li Yu-chan cherished the water jade pearl, placed it in a small inner pocket in her chest, and patted it carefully. Suddenly she sneered, that lecherous Lu boy, I have no interest in him. Zhou Kaiwei was surprised, so it wasn't Lu who gave you the pearl? Then who was it? Li Yu-chan showed a shy smile, I won't tell you. No matter how you think, you won't guess who gave me the pearl. Fine, you Li Yu-chan. I considered you my best sister. You won't even tell me who your lover is, wait till I deal with you. Zhou Kaiwei lunged, groping Li Yu-chan top and bottom. Li Yu-chan cried out repeatedly. Her clothes were torn, even the belly band covering her was pulled off from the neck. Li Yu-chan was both ashamed and angry. Kaiwei, you've gone too far. Give back my belly band. Li Yu-chan said in humiliation and ire, shaking, as two melon-sized breasts chased around the desk after Zhou Kaiwei. Zhou Kaiwei circled the desk and found the water jade pearl. Giggling, see, I knew you sewed a small pocket inside your belly band. Indeed I was right. Li Yu-chan, furious and embarrassed, give back my belly band. This is indecent. If someone comes in, will I survive? Before the sound of her last word fell, the door was pushed open from outside. A slender, tall figure in all black appeared at the doorway. Zhou Kaiwei, holding the belly band high, froze. Li Yu-chan also gaped. At the doorway, Qingxiu observed the inside scene, and inhaled sharply in surprise. Such a sensual scene inevitably stirred feelings in him, he silently marveled, so beautiful. The shape was exquisitely refined, unbelievably so, fair, adorable, round yet firm. The two girls in the office were stunned. They absolutely did not expect that, at this moment, someone would enter without knocking. Since Baiwei Pavilion opened, Li Yu-chan and Zhou Kaiwei had set strict rules, one must knock before entering. If you didn't knock, you'd be punished with hard labor and wage deductions. This led all waitresses to habitually knock first. That's why Li Yu-chan and Zhou Kaiwei could play and joke without restraint, even undressing, because only the waitresses, no male staff, were in the front hall. The male chef stayed in the back kitchen. Qingxiu quietly closed the door and asked with a frown, what are you doing? Playing and messing around during work hours, what kind of behavior is this? Zhou Kaiwei trembled and suddenly looked at Li Yu-chan, eyes widened, staring at her blouse and chest. Ah? Li Yu-chan screamed, desperately clutched her chest, hurriedly lifted her clothes to cover. Qingxiu asked puzzled, Yu-chan, why scream? Is there a mouse in the office? Li Yu-chan froze. Zhou Kaiwei then pointed to her own eyes, reminding Yu-chan that her lord is blind. Yu-chan relaxed, glared at Kaiwei, and pointed to her pink undergarment. Fortunately, they knew that their lord had no heirs and was kind to servants, so they didn't panic. Zhou Kaiwei tossed the undergarment back to Li Yu-chan and stepped forward to gently hold Qingxiu and said awkwardly, Marquis, why did you suddenly come here? Please sit. Qingxiu sat and snapped, if I don't come, would you two little managers dismantle Baiwei Pavilion? Zhou Kaiwei blushed and stammered. Because Qingxiu wears a blindfold, things appeared safe. Li Yu-chan, having no worries, had undressed before him. Qingxiu got a good view again. He noted that Li Yu-chan is much prettier than Zhou Kaiwei, one of the most attractive girls he knows, white jade-like skin, arched eyebrows, red lips, fat and round full bust, slender waist, ample hips, graceful. She is 18 or 19, perfectly developed, effortlessly enchanting. Many diners visit Baiwei Pavilion for the pleasure of seeing her. Once dressed, Yu-chan patted her chest, glared at Kaiwei, then asked with a smile, Marquis, why come to Baiwei Pavilion today? Have you created a new dish? Qingxiu suppressed his anger and placed a treasure box on the table, opening it. Li Yu-chan and Zhou Kaiwei gazed at the contents, shocked. Their eyes shimmered. Zhou Kaiwei marveled, this is glass wineware? There's even another glazed bright moon pearl glass bead? My heavens, a jewel like this, and there's yet another? Li Yu-chan also gasped. Qingxiu said, these will be auction items in 2 days. I've written the auction order and descriptions on paper. Yu-chan, you will host the auction 3 days from now, Kaiwei will handle publicity. Zhou Kaiwei nodded, Marquis, rest assured, we will publish it widely. Qingxiu said, all right, I've said enough. Don't just play around. With that, he tapped his blind staff and left. After Qingxiu left, Zhou Kaiwei took everything from the treasure box. There was a set of glass wineware, exquisitely made, flawless in appearance, and shimmering with rainbow light in sunlight. Wow, there's writing on it too. Zhou Kaiwei picked up a glass wine vessel and saw gilded small characters. Her face reddened. Pointing to the vessel, she shyly asked, "Yuchan, what does it say?" Li Yuchan's eyes showed slight disdain. "Illiteracy is scary. I've told you to study and learn to write. Lady Yunyang would only arrange idle duties for you if you couldn't read. Despite your math skills, lacking literacy limits you." Zhou Caiwei's face turned redder and bit her lip. "Starting today, you teach me characters. One character costs a coin. You're raising the price on the spot. Just show me what's written." Li Yuchan took the glass wine pot and read carefully. "Fine wine in the glowing cup at night, the pipa urges one to drink before mounting the horse. Do not laugh when drunk upon the battlefield, since ancient times, how many soldiers return?" A good poem, truly a good poem. Zhou Kaiwei nodded earnestly. "Yes, though I can't read, it sounds powerful." She then took the previously auctioned glazed bright moon pearl and 5 other glass beads, red, green, yellow, pink, multicolored. "Ah?" Zhou Kaiwei suddenly looked up in disbelief. "Yuchan, these water jade beads are just like the one in your hand. My heavens!" She covered her mouth, shocked. "Your water jade bead, could it be a token from the Marquis of Affection?" Li Yuchan blushed shyly, yet with a hint of disappointment. She smiled. It was indeed given by the Marquis, but not as a token of affection. It was just a casual gift. There are many more beads like this at his place. Zhou Kaiwei envied her. "If the Marquis wasn't interested in you, why give you a bead? Why not give me one instead?" That was just a casual gift, right? Has nothing to do with whether he's interested in me?" Yuchan asked, puzzled. Zhou Kaiwei, frustrated, said, "Yuchan, you really are foolish. If the Marquis doesn't give to others, why give it to you? I think he has his eye on you but doesn't dare to speak up directly. Giving you the bead is his way of hinting." Li Yuchan blushed and stammered, Is this true?" Seeing her full of doubt, Zhou Kaiwei said seriously, "It's definitely true. I heard this has already spread in Sanha village, we just didn't know. Yuchan, you must seize the opportunity. If you miss this chance, there won't be another. Don't regret it. That's enough. I've said my piece, believe it or not is up to you. I'll go outside and promote the auction items." With that, Zhou Kaiwei strode off with several servants. Yuchan clutched her water bead, brimming with pride. "No wonder the Marquis gave me that bead, it was a hint to be more proactive." Qing Xiu didn't yet know that among the staff gossip at Baiwei Pavilion, he'd earned a reputation as a husband strictly under his wife's control. At the same time, Qing Xiu had returned to Sanha village. Looking at the now yellow corn stalks, a genuine smile appeared. "The corn has matured, potatoes too, peanuts will be ready in another month, perfect for the world's hardest bar snack, fried peanuts." "Xuanzi!" Qing Xiu called. Xuanzi, carrying a bucket of ice from the gatehouse to cool off, rushed out. "Marquis, what are your commands?" Qing Xiu instructed, "Immediately ride to the palace and inform His Majesty that the potatoes are ripe, tell him to hurry over and dig them." "Understood." Xuanzi mounted a fast horse and sped toward the palace. In the Hall of Supreme Ultimate, several ministers were gathered. Though the weather outside was scorching, Li Er had mastered the method of making ice from saltpeter. Anywhere in the palace where people gathered, large blocks of ice were placed to cool the air. The principle was simple: saltpeter dissolved in water absorbs a lot of heat, rapidly cooling the water until it freezes. Saltpeter is common, so this method isn't extravagant in historical terms. If they used rare minerals, it wouldn't leave much legacy. In front of Li Er and the officials was a bucket of water, crawling with red-shelled crawly insects, gruesome to look at, and the 3 ministers had solemn expressions. An elderly county magistrate of around 60, dressed in regional official robes, knelt, tearfully pleading. "Your Majesty, this year, crawly insects have infested Weinan beyond count, much worse than in previous years. No matter how we kill them, new waves emerge nonstop, like mushrooms after rain. Recently planted rice on hundreds of thousands of acres in Weinan was devastated. These damned insects bore holes in the roots and stems, killing nearly all seedlings. On top of this, river levels have fallen, making it even harder to irrigate the rice fields again. Replanting is nearly impossible, and even if some areas succeed, the insects will destroy it again. Now the entire Weinan region's hundreds of thousands of families weep daily and complain constantly. It's my failure to take preventive measures. I humbly request your Majesty dismiss me from my post." Magistrate Zhang Fengshan bowed with his head down, even showing a trace of relief at being removed, since continued failure might lead to famine and punishment, even execution. Li Er gazed intently at the bucket of insects, then declared, "The fault isn't yours. These insects are too resilient and Weinan is a water town, their natural breeding ground, it's hard to prevent an outbreak." Zhang Fengshan, rise. Let me deliberate further before deciding. Thank you, Your Majesty. Zhang Fengshan stood and stepped aside. Li Er then asked the ministers, what clever plan do you have to resolve Weinan's insect disaster? Fang Xianling carefully replied, Your Majesty, Weinan is a water town. If we cut off irrigation for at least 3 years, the insects would naturally die out. Sun Wenben frowned, but then what will the people plant? If the fields go dry and floods come unexpectedly, the result may be even more disastrous. Zhang Sun Wuji sighed, alas, no solution. Truly no solution. Li Er frowned. Then what can be done? Du Ruhui, Minister of Personnel, offered, these insects live in water and their eggs are everywhere. To completely eliminate them, we'd need a dry period of 3 to 4 years. There is no solution, famine will come this autumn. We must prepare now. Wei Zheng mused, that means 400,000 to 500,000 people in Weinan will be affected. Unlike summer hardship, autumn distress could last all year and demand relief for 500,000 souls throughout the year. Silence followed. At that moment, a eunuch rushed and bowed, Your Majesty, the Marquis of Lantian sent word that the potatoes are ripe. Please come to Sanha village to dig them. Li Er's face brightened. He rose, laughing, haha, at last a joyful matter. I didn't expect the potatoes to ripen so soon. Ministers looked puzzled in unison, Your Majesty, what are potatoes? Li Er smiled without speaking, then instructed Wang De, go inform the Empress. Tell her to come quickly and accompany me to Sanha village. Zhang Sun Wuji looked confused, Your Majesty, what kind of food are potatoes? I have never heard of them. Others also expressed deep curiosity. Li Er clapped his hands animatedly, you all don't know. The Marquis of Lantian's family planted a food called potatoes. Supposedly the yield per acre is astonishing. They can be eaten like vegetables or as grain to fill the stomach. Most importantly, they grow in any soil, even dry or sandy land, and can be stored for 1 to 2 years without spoiling. A potato, such a crop exists? This, unheard of. But if such food exists, why have I never heard of it? Wei Zheng voiced everyone's question. Li Er laughed, of course you haven't heard, potatoes aren't native to Tang. Marquis Qing said they came from overseas. Everyone was startled. Zhang Sun Wuji eyes widened, he's been overseas? Li Er shook his head, regardless of whether Qing has traveled, this crop never existed in Tang, it must be foreign. Let us go together to see this potato's true nature. He looked at Zhang Fengshan and pointed to the bucket of insects, take these insects with us to Sanha village. We can't handle them ourselves, perhaps Marquis Qing can. Soon Li Er arranged the ceremonial entourage and departed for Sanha village with the ministers. In under an hour they arrived. Fang Xianling and Wei Zheng, visiting Sanha village for the first time, lifted the carriage curtain and were astonished by the prosperous main street, shops lining both sides, stalls stretching from east to west, and abundant goods. Despite the sweltering heat, people wore enthusiastic smiles. Whispered calls and the aroma of braised meat stalls wafted by, both ministers salivated at the scent. They exchanged looks, both shock and awe visible. Fang Xianling sighed, no wonder the emperor visits Sanha village regularly. Just months ago this was a dilapidated hamlet, but under Marquis Qing's development, it's now a bustling town, truly transformative. Wei Zheng nodded, if all of Tang were as prosperous, that would truly be the flourishing era of Zhenguan. Fang Xianling smiled wryly, I remember you initially opposed the crown prince learning from the marquis, claiming he was scheming. To call such a benefactor scheming? Wei Zheng snorted, Minister, please don't quote selectively. I initially didn't know him well, if situations arose again, I would still admonish. As an imperial censor, I judge actions, not persons. Fang Xianling scoffed, proclaiming to judge actions, not people, let me ask, 3 clans now oppose the marquis and your censorate is heavily tied to those clans. Can you truly stay neutral? Wei Zheng was momentarily speechless. Fang Xianling continued, the marquis has talent and your majesty would never let him fall. Ever since he appeared, all of Tang seemed renewed, full of vitality. The 3 clans, Zheng of Yingyang, Wang of Taiyuan, and Lu of Fanyang, will likely conspire with censors to fabricate imaginary charges. Minister Wei, we are fellow officials. A word of advice, do not involve yourself in their feud with Marquis Qing. Whether they win or lose, you'll be blamed. Why not remain above it? Wei Zheng smiled, as I said, actions, not people. As censor, I won't align. I will do my duty, that's enough. Fang Xianling shook his head slightly and said no more. They had arrived at Marquis Qing's estate. Li Er, barely pausing despite sweating, jumped from the carriage and entered the courtyard. Seeing Qing Xiu, he laughed, Marquis Qing, I heard the potatoes are ripe, so I came at once. Under a tarpaulin for shade, the courtyard had many tubs of ice, cooler than outside. Qing Xiu welcomed them with his family. Wei Zheng looked at the tubs full of ice and remarked acidly, Marquis Qing is extravagant, ice piled high in this heat. Such opulence, rivaling the palace. Su Xiaochun frowned, she could hear sarcasm in his words, and carefully observed the middle-aged man of almost 50. Qing Xiu chuckled, Minister Censor's tone suggests I squander public resources. Wei Zheng shook his head, how dare I accuse you, Marquis Qing? Seeing you use so much ice so calmly, I suppose you have massive ice cellars. I merely reflect on the disparity between people, its astounding, almost infuriating extravagance. Qing Xiu smiled unaffected. Fang Xianling beside him silently shook his head, thinking Wei Zheng dismissed his words lightly. Su Xiaochun felt somewhat displeased upon seeing someone speaking to her husband with such a sour tone. She immediately said coldly, this official doesn't know the truth of the matter, so please don't speak nonsense. Besides, our family doesn't have an ice cellar. These ice blocks were all made by my husband himself. How can that be considered a waste of labor or resources? Wei Zheng looked at the young woman before him in disbelief. The others also had incredulous expressions. Making ice in such hot weather? The only clear-headed person was Zhang Sun Wuji. He naturally knew about using saltpeter to make ice. Although Li Er had mastered the method of making ice with saltpeter, he hadn't told others. He used this method last time to make ice to cool down the officials, his intention was to win their favor. Wei Zheng looked at Qing Xiu with a face full of disbelief and said, in this hot weather, even river water is warm. How could it be used to make ice? What's wrong? Su Xiaochun suddenly laughed, does this official not believe it? Wei Zheng shook his head and said, in such hot weather, you claim to freeze water. Of course I don't believe it. Not only I don't believe it, probably no one in the world would believe it. Su Xiaochun was about to speak, but Qing Xiu smiled and pulled her aside, saying, wife, go ask Yunyang to prepare some tea. Matters between men don't need your involvement. Su Xiaochun wanted to speak but stopped and obediently stepped back. Li Er saw that the situation was becoming awkward and said to Wei Zheng, if you don't understand the matter, then stop speaking nonsense. Marquis Qing can indeed make ice in summer. The method used in the palace to make ice was taught to me by him. Wei Zheng's eyes widened, and his face showed shock. Though he liked to argue, he wasn't a fool. Even the emperor confirmed it, despite his confusion, he could only keep quiet. After sending Wei Zheng away, Li Er looked excited and said, Marquis Qing, when shall we dig the potatoes? We can start now. Qing Xiu turned and went into the house to fetch a few small shovels, handing one each to Li Er and Empress Zhangsun, then took a small stool and went to the potato planting area. He was very excited inside. These potatoes were planted by his own hand and had matured after 4 months of cultivation. He just didn't know how the yield would turn out. They better not be stunted. That would be embarrassing. While they were about to dig potatoes, Zhang Sun Wuji, Fang Xianling, Cin Wenben, Du Ruhui, and Wei Zheng were surrounding the cornfield in amazement. Oh my heavens! What is this? How can it grow so thick? Is this perhaps also a foreign crop? It's taller than a person, and these round ears, is this food growing on it? Come, let's look at the potatoes His Majesty mentioned. A group of people stood behind Qing Xiu and Li Er's couple, staring nervously at a few square meters of potato field. In front, Qing Xiu had already begun digging. As he dug, he said, Your Majesty, Empress, be careful. Potatoes are different from grains. If you slightly damage their skin while digging, they can't be stored. Upon hearing this, Li Er and Empress Zhangsun dared not dig at all. This, Marquis Qing, I think it's better if you handle the digging yourself. Yes, yes. Empress Zhangsun also nodded repeatedly, we'll just watch. Right now there are only so many potatoes in the tang, and they need to be used for seeds. If we damage them, it would be a sin. Qing Xiu nodded and said, all right, I'll dig them myself. Qing Xiu dug very carefully. As the soil was loosened, gradually, a fist-sized potato emerged from the dirt. He picked it out with his hands, it weighed at least 1 pound. Li Er looked at the dirt-covered potato in his hand, breathing heavily, this is a potato? It's this big? 2 of these would definitely fill an adult. Heavens! Empress Zhangsun said incoherently in excitement, this is a potato? Really? It's so big? Hiss, so this is a potato? Wow, to think food like this can grow underground. I've never seen such a thing. This potato is big. Looks like it's good to eat. Qing Xiu, however, frowned and muttered, why is it so small? That's not right. Empress Zhangsun widened her eyes and said in disbelief, what? This is still small? It's already big, isn't it? Qing Xiu asked, it's big? Empress Zhangsun nodded repeatedly, yes, it's big. Qing Xiu curled his lips, tossed the potato aside, and continued digging. Li Er quickly grabbed the potato and ran to the water vat. He carefully washed off the dirt, then wiped it clean with his clothes without minding the filth. He smiled with joy. Everyone gathered around, chattering noisily. Empress Zhangsun also wanted to see, but the crowd blocked her view, so she just watched Qingxiu dig from a distance. Soon, the second potato was dug out. This one was much larger, weighing about a lb. Qingxiu finally nodded with satisfaction and said, "Now this is right. This is the proper size and weight of a potato." Beside him, Zhang Xuan's voice trembled. Heavens! This potato is huge, really huge. Marquis Qing, it's too thick. Qingxiu's face turned dark. If this woman keeps talking like that, she'll end up calling me thick too. Zhang Sun Wugo's exclamation attracted everyone's attention. Seeing the second potato, they all exclaimed in awe. 3, 4, 5, 6. As Marquis Qing kept digging, the potatoes piled up like a mountain. The larger ones were about a lb, the smaller ones about half a pound altogether. There were over 100. It must be noted that at the start, Qingxiu only brought 2 potatoes. One potato was cut into 10 pieces, each piece grew 1 sprout, and each sprout produced 7 or 8 potatoes. Calculated carefully, this yield was normal. Li Er looked at the mountain of potatoes, his eyes turning red. With a trembling voice, he said, "Such a small area produced so many potatoes, this must be at least a 110 pounds, conservatively estimated?" He made a rough calculation, then pointed at the potato patch and said, shaking, "An acre of land can be divided into 30 such plots. That means 1 acre could yield over 3,300 pounds of potatoes? Your Majesty, I feel dizzy," Empress Zhangsun said, holding her forehead in a daze. Fang Xianling squatted before the potato pile and marveled, "Your Majesty, 1 acre of potatoes yields as much as 10 acres of grain. My goodness! I can't believe there's such a high-yield crop in the world." Duruhui was already in tears. He grabbed Li Er's hand and choked up, "Your Majesty, with such a yield, if potatoes are widely planted in the Tang, we will never worry about famine again." Li Er nodded with teary eyes. Kemming is right. This potato yield is truly shocking. Qingxiu stood up and sighed, "The yield is still much lower than I expected." "That's still low?" Wei Zheng's mouth twitched, staring at the potato in his hand. 3,300 pounds per acre and you call it low? The others all looked at him oddly, thinking, is this guy bragging again? Qingxiu curled his lip and said, "You saw me digging earlier. I spaced the potato plants out widely. If I had planted in all the gaps, it would easily be over 11,000 pounds per acre." Qingxiu didn't feel the least bit guilty. "Heavens!" Wei Zheng exclaimed. Then with a self-mocking look, he said, "Marquis Qing, just the fact that you offered up the potato to save the Tang from famine is enough. Even if your life is a bit extravagant, so what? I apologize for my previous irrationality, and I thank you on behalf of the people who can't get enough to eat." With that, Wei Zheng gave him a deep bow. Everyone else nodded in approval. Such a scene, where even Wei Zheng bowed and admitted his mistake, was rare to witness. Chu Qing ordered his assistants to collect all the potatoes into baskets. When weighed, they totaled 121 pounds. From just 2 seed potatoes, they harvested 121 pounds of potatoes, an extraordinary yield by any later standard. This success was due in part to his careful care. Chu Qing regularly fertilized and protected the potato patch. The fertilizer used was high-quality cow dung and horse manure. Emperor Li Kong asked anxiously, "Marquis Qing, how do you plan to handle these potatoes? Do you intend to continue cultivation?" Chu Qing nodded, "Yes. I plan to plant another crop next year. The village has already fenced off a plot, and manure has nourished the soil for a month or 2. Hearing cow and horse manure, Li Kong and the Empress frowned, and the others looked puzzled. Zhang Sun Wuji asked, "Son-in-law, why use manure, such dirty things? Is there some special reason?" Chu Qing then recalled this was Tang, where manure was considered filthy, people didn't understand its value. He smiled and explained, "People assume animal manure is dirty, but actually it contains nutrients essential for plants. Soil enriched by it is better for crops, and plants grow stronger." The Empress looked at Chu Qing's vegetable plot unbelievingly. "Your plot uses animal manure too?" "Of course." Chu Qing nodded, "Otherwise, the crops wouldn't grow so well." She glared, "Why didn't you say so sooner? I ended up grabbing a handful of dirt myself. Oh, I need to wash my hands." She rushed off to the bathhouse, and Li Kong laughed heartily. Zhang Sun Wuji asked curiously, "Son-in-law, since animal manure can enrich soil, could human manure also?" Chu Qing's mouth twitched, he shook his head, "Human manure smells terrible. While also nutrient-rich, very few use it. Though it does have other uses." Everyone made disgusted faces. Li Kong cleared his throat and waved dismissively. Marquis Qing, enough, I'm about to vomit. Chu Qing smiled without responding further. Li Kong then pointed to the cornfield and said with a smile, what about corn, time to harvest? Chu Qing nodded, yes, just tell someone to pick the corn. Soon, the half-acre plot's ears were picked clean. When weighed, they totaled over 660 pounds. Li Kong held the golden corn, beaming, the name, corn, fits well. He put it down, looked around seriously, and said, I once told Marquis Qing, if your potato yield per acre exceeds 5,500 pounds, I would grant you a princedom to share in the realm. At this, everyone gasped in shock. Zhang Sun Wuji turned pale and trembled slightly, worry evident. But these potatoes. Chu Qing interrupted, Your Majesty, I have no interest in becoming a prince or chancellor. Please retract those words. Besides, this potato yield isn't even 5,500 pounds per acre yet. Hearing this, Zhang Sun Wuji breathed easier and looked at Chu Qing with admiration. He knew best, Li Kong would never share power easily. If his son-in-law were granted a title, Li Kong would later clear any obstacles for his own heir. Not only non-relations, even a son elevated to prince could be expelled from Chang'an to avoid interfering with imperial power. Li Kong mused, since Marquis Qing says so, continued insistence serves no purpose. Let it go, however, the potatoes and corn you've cultivated could rid Tang of famine for good. That is truly a monumental merit. He turned and smiled at Su Xiaochun, Lady Yunyang, and others at the gate. Then he announced, Marquis of Lantian, Chu Qing, and all family members come forward to receive your majestic command. Chu Qing froze, Su Xiaochun, Yunyang, and Zhang Sun Pingting also froze, each suddenly nervous. Zhang Sun Wuji gently took Zhang Sun Pingting's hand and said, Come with me, His Majesty is bestowing honors upon you. When they approached, Li Kong formally said, Marquis Qing, because of your cultivation of potatoes and corn freeing Tang from famine, your merit is immense. Your title of Marquis and family inheritance is hereby confirmed for all generations. Zhang Sun Wuji laughed until he could hardly close his mouth. His son-in-law, so young, earned the hereditary title of a 10,000 household marquis. Even in all of Tang, there has never been such a young, permanently inheritable noble title. Granting a duke would only be a matter of time. The other civil officials looked on in admiration. A hereditary title forever unchanged, this was unprecedented since Tang's founding. They envied him. Most hereditary titles lasted maybe 3 generations, then decreased in rank each time until vanishing. But a title that lasts legacies? That was impossible barring grave crimes. Li Kong continued, Marquis Qing's wife, Su Xiaochun, beloved by the empress and adopted as her daughter, is hereby granted the title Princess Anmin. His concubines, Lady Yunyang and Zhang Sun Pingting, both refined, virtuous, graceful, are granted the 7th-rank noble titles. Su Xiaochun, expecting adoption and elevation, remained calm. Yunyang and Pingting nearly cried with joy. In feudal Tang society, even women's status was limited, but to be granted a 7th-rank noble title was rare privilege, with rights like petitioning the throne. Equivalent in many ways to a noble rank. Several civil officials were astonished. Even Wei Zheng, though tempted to comment, found no reason to object. After all, Chu Qing had provided huge benefit to generations. In fact, such merit could justify even granting a foreign prince. After the honors, Li Kong asked with a smile, Marquis Qing, are you pleased with these grants? Chu Qing bowed, I am delighted, thank you for your majesty's favor. Su Xiaochun let a bow, thank you, your majesty. The empress smiled silently but inwardly thought, if Marquis Qing does one more great deed, she might truly marry off her daughter. Li Kong stepped forward solemnly, Marquis Qing, the duties of cultivating potatoes and corn are entrusted to you. Chu Qing nodded, naturally. Li Kong smiled, then we won't trouble you further, I'm heading back to the palace. Chu Qing nodded and offered to see Li Kong and others off. But at the gatehouse, an elderly officer near the ice bucket spoke, Your Majesty, should I follow you back to discuss the insect disaster, or return to pacify the counties? Li Kong slapped his forehead and laughed ruefully, I was so swept up in joy over potatoes and corn that I almost forgot the insect disaster in Weinan. He looked at Chu Qing and frowned, Do you have any effective method to eradicate those crawly pests? Chu Qing looked confused, tilted his head, and scratched his nape, Your Majesty, what is a crawly insect? Li Kong and the empress were stunned. The civil officials twitched in disbelief. Zhang Fengshan shook his head regretfully, he'd hoped to receive a solution from the famed Marquis Qing, but discovered the man didn't even know what the pests were, making the coming journey seem pointless. Li Kang's lips trembled, You don't know what a crawly insect is? Chu Qing racked his mind, he had no knowledge of such pests. He shook his head in confusion. Li Kong sighed, so you really don't know. It seems my trip was wasted. Chu Qing asked, Your Majesty, what exactly happened? Li Kong explained, the crawly pest outbreak in Weinan destroyed rice seedlings across tens of thousands of acres. This is the worst pest disaster in recent years. Chu Qing frowned, I truly don't know what those insects are, but if I learn later, I might figure out how to handle them. Next time Your Majesty visits, you can bring a few for me, and perhaps I'll find a way to solve it. If the pests turn out to be common species, perhaps Chu Qing might devise a remedy. Li Kong nodded, yes. Zhang Fengshan brought a bucket of these pests here. Zhang Fengshan, please bring them forward. Chu Qing then noticed Zhang Fengshan holding a wooden bucket full of dark red, hard-shelled crawly critters. Seeing the contents clearly, Chu Qing stood agape, thinking, Wah, these are little lobsters. The clawed bug is actually a crayfish? Qingxiu was suddenly delighted and couldn't help but think of spicy crayfish, a dish that could be considered a worldwide sensation. Wasn't the crayfish originally from North America? How come the Tang dynasty has it too? It seems that archaeological data from later times isn't entirely accurate either. Li Er picked one clawed bug out of the bucket and handed it to Qingxiu, asking, Is this the clawed bug? Lord Qing, have you ever seen this pest? Qingxiu was a bit excited at this moment, because the size of this crayfish was much bigger than the ones he had eaten before. Qingxiu nodded repeatedly, Yes, of course I've seen it. But Your Majesty, this creature is not called a clawed bug. It's called crayfish. Crayfish? That name actually sounds quite fitting. Indeed, the body structure of the clawed bug is just like a river shrimp, only it looks a bit odd. Calling it a shrimp is reasonable. As soon as Qingxiu said he recognized the clawed bug, Li Er got interested. Lord Qing, do you have a way to completely eliminate this pest? Pest? Qingxiu shook his head and laughed. Your Majesty, this is no pest. Crayfish are an extremely delicious delicacy. Li Er twitched his lips and looked at him as if he had seen a ghost, eyes wide. Don't try to fool me. This clawed bug has always been a pest, ruining the roots and stems of rice seedlings whenever it appears, and you call it a delicacy. Exactly. Changsun Wuji added, Son-in-law, don't talk nonsense. This clawed bug reeks of mud and has no meat at all, hard to swallow, with a shell as tough as steel. You say it's edible? Who are you trying to fool? Fang Xianling scratched his head, puzzled, and asked innocently, Lord Qing, is this thing really edible? Qingxiu nodded, it is edible. Actually, it's not about the meat, but its unique flavor and taste. And it does have meat. How can father-in-law say it doesn't? Changsun Wuji was stunned and laughed awkwardly. I've just heard people talk about it. I've never actually tried it. Li Er nodded disdainfully. If Lord Qing says it's edible, then it must be. But I've heard people say the muddy smell is too strong, and it's disgusting to eat. Disgusting? Qingxiu froze for a moment, then realized it made sense. Without proper spices and good cooking methods, if you just boil crayfish in a pot, of course it would taste bad. I don't care if it's tasty or not. I just want to know, Lord Qing, do you have a way to solve the clawed bug disaster? Qingxiu chuckled and nodded, of course, and not only that, I can turn this waste into treasure. Oh? Li Er's eyes lit up. What method do you have, Lord Qing? Changsun Wuji worried, Son-in-law, so many people have tried to get rid of it with no success. Don't speak carelessly. Qingxiu shook his head, no boasting. The only way to solve it is to eat them. Li Er looked disgusted, who's going to eat them? You. Seeing the crayfish, Qingxiu's cravings were already stirred. He solemnly nodded, yes, I'll eat it. You all can try it too. Li Er gave a dry laugh, shaking his head like a rattledrum, I won't eat it. Lord Qing, if you like it, eat it yourself. Exactly. Fang Xianling nodded, I have no blessings to enjoy such a pest. Changsun Wuji also shook his head in disgust, neither will I. Wei Zhang, will you eat? Wei Zhang froze and shook his head, I only like celery and spinach. I'm not fond of meat, so I won't eat either. Qingxiu's smile widened. He laughed and said, everyone, it's almost noon. Since we're all gathered, why not stay at my place for a simple meal before you go? Li Er rubbed his belly and nodded with a smile, exactly what I was thinking. I'm getting hungry. The Empress Changsun looked disgusted, Lord Qing, you're not planning to feed us clawed bugs, are you? As soon as she said that, everyone's face stiffened. If that's the case, forget the meal. Qingxiu shook his head, of course not. Everyone said the clawed bug smells muddy and is hard to swallow. So I'll eat that myself. You can eat other dishes and try potatoes and corn too. Hearing that, everyone's eyes lit up. Even Li Er drooled while sighing, potatoes and corn are seeds. We can't just eat them now. We have to grow more first. But this is new food. Who knows if it's poisonous? Well, I'll take the risk for the people. Everyone else twitched their mouths and pretended not to hear. Qingxiu curled his lips and secretly cursed, shameless. He first went to the servants' yard to arrange for the cooks to prepare the meal and asked a few maids to help with the crayfish. Qingxiu had always liked crayfish and had learned how to prepare them. It's actually easy to remove the muddy smell, just wash them with strong white liquor and cook with fennel leaves to ensure no muddy odor. Luckily, there were plenty of wild fennel leaves in the mountains. It was the peak season now, and he had stocked up a lot. When Li Er and the others saw Qingxiu preparing to cook clawed bugs, their faces were full of resistance. But seeing this blind man skillfully cleaning, deveining, and marinating the crayfish with ginger water and wine amazed them. Then Qingxiu expertly heated oil in a big iron pot, added spices, and finally threw in a handful of dried chili peppers. A strong, pungent aroma filled the kitchen, making everyone sneeze. Li Er's eyes widened in surprise. "Lord Qing, you actually used chili peppers?" He had some trauma with chili peppers. But to his surprise, the rich aroma when the peppers hit the oil made his mouth water. Qingxiu tossed the crayfish into the pot and stir-fried them while replying, "Crayfish goes best with chili peppers. This dish is called spicy crayfish. Of course, there are other versions like garlic crayfish, which also tastes great." As the crayfish cooked, the aroma spread out, making everyone's Adam's apples move. After adding water and secret sauce, the smell became even richer. Gulping sounds followed. When everything was done, Qingxiu clapped his hands, picked up 2 one-pound potatoes, and began peeling them. Li Er squatted nearby, watching closely and asked curiously, "Lord Qing, how do you plan to cook the potatoes?" "I plan to make 2 plates of spicy shredded potatoes," Qingxiu explained with a smile. "Shred the potatoes and stir-fry them. They're crisp and tasty. But even though that's delicious, I still prefer potato beef stew." Li Er raised his eyebrows. "Potato beef stew?" "Yes." Li Er said eagerly, "Why don't you prepare a potato beef stew too?" Qingxiu shook his head. "Potatoes are fine, but beef is hard to get. It's illegal to slaughter cattle these days, so I don't dare eat it." Li Er's eyes lit up and he smiled. "That's easy." He walked out of the kitchen and shouted to Wang De, "Send someone quickly to Qin Qiong's house and say that by my order, one of their cows suddenly died. Have him send a hind leg to Sanha village within half an hour." Chang Sun Wuji and Fang Xianling couldn't stop twitching their mouths. Qingxiu almost coughed up blood. "Good grief, is that even allowed?" "Lord Qing, we've got the beef, and it's the hind leg." Li Er returned to the kitchen and said this in a serious and calm tone. Qingxiu's mouth twitched, and he nodded. "Good, then I'll prepare the potatoes right away. We'll have potato beef stew for lunch." Wei Zheng couldn't take it anymore and urgently said with a pale face, "Your Majesty, this is not right. A plowing ox nowadays is worth 5 or 6 farmers. Such a precious ox, how could your Majesty slaughter it just to satisfy your appetite?" Li Er looked at him strangely and said, "Wei Zheng, when did I slaughter an ox? I'm standing here just fine. Are you misunderstanding something? It was a cow from Cheng Yaojin's home that suddenly died from illness. It's so hot today, if we don't deal with it quickly, the meat will go bad. I'm doing a good deed. Listen to you, as if I personally slaughtered a plowing ox." Wei Zheng was momentarily speechless. He stood there with a dark face and said, "Your Majesty clearly understands what I mean. Why pretend to be confused?" Li Er laughed awkwardly. "Ahaha, this darn hot weather. That cow at Cheng Yaojin's place must have died from heatstroke." Wei Zheng was so angry his nose was about to twist. Just as he was about to speak, Chang Sun Wuji mocked him. "Oh, please. You talk like you won't eat a bite of it at lunch. You won't miss out on your share of the beef stew." "Humph." Wei Zheng snorted coldly and chose to ignore them. The person Li Er sent out rode quickly and arrived at Cheng Yaojin's mansion in the time it takes to burn 2 incense sticks. "Duke of Lu, His Majesty commands that one of your cows must suddenly die from illness. Send a beef hind leg to the residence of Marquis of Lantian in Sanha village." At that moment, Cheng Yaojin, wearing only a white loincloth like a sumo wrestler, looked bewildered. But he quickly understood and cheerfully shouted, "Das Hun, go slaughter a cow and bring a beef hind leg right away. His Majesty wants to eat beef." Soon, a steaming hot beef hind leg was delivered by a servant. Cheng Yaojin put on his clothes, carried the dozens of Jin beef leg into the yard and shouted, "Chower, get out here." Soon, his son Cheng Chumo, also in a loincloth and sweating heavily, walked out puzzled. "Dad, what are you doing?" Cheng Yaojin waved the beef leg and laughed. "You lucky boy, today I'm taking you to Lord Qing's home in Sanha village to eat something good. Hurry up and get the horses ready." Cheng Chumo's eyes lit up, and he quickly dressed and led out 2 horses from the stable. The father and son rode swiftly toward Sanha village. From the time Li Er ordered the cow to die to when Cheng Yaojin brought the beef leg to Sanha village, not even half an hour had passed. Cheng Chumo had never been to Sanha village before and looked around curiously like a child, amazed at everything he saw. Cheng Yaojin and his dim-witted son entered the yard and were shocked by the cool air. They saw the yard full of water jars packed with ice. The two were completely stunned. Good heavens, oh my goodness. Whoa! Cheng Chumo exclaimed, Dad, with this hot weather, Lord Qing has so much ice? How big must his ice cellar be? With this temperature, how much ice would he need? Cheng Yaojin's eyes turned and he marveled, no wonder he's Lord Qing, able to make ice in summer. That's simply miraculous. What? Cheng Chumo looked like he saw a ghost. Dad, you mean Lord Qing made all this ice himself? Cheng Yaojin looked at him disappointed. Choer, you're really dumb. Qingxiu just moved to Sanha village after spring. How could he still have ice left from before? Clearly, these ice blocks weren't stored in a cellar earlier. So this means he made them. No wonder His Majesty has been gifting ice to officials lately. I was wondering at first, normally, the royal family is never this generous. And the ice cellars only have limited ice, not like now when there's seemingly endless supply. His Majesty must have learned how to make ice from Lord Qing. Heh, Choer, since you know Lord Qing, I have a task for you today, get him drunk and find out his method. Then we won't have to wear loincloths all summer. Cheng Chumo's eyes lit up and he nodded seriously. Only then did Cheng Yaojin stride into the courtyard with a proud gait. His voice came before he did. Cheng Yaojin immediately changed into a sorrowful expression and loudly complained, this damned weather. My cow died from illness. Your Majesty, a cow in my house died. Please inform the authorities in Yongzhou so they don't accuse me of pretending a healthy cow died. At the kitchen door, Li Er's mouth twitched and he solemnly said, Don't worry, Duke of Lu. I personally witnessed your cow's death. Even the censorate won't be able to find fault. Wei Zheng rolled his eyes, clearly this was a message not to bring it up in court. Cheng Yaojin grinned widely, I slaughtered the sick cow. Got hundreds of lb of beef. My family can't eat it all. In this heat, it'll spoil quickly, so I brought a hind leg to Lord Qing. In the inner room of the living area, Su Xiaochun, Yunyang, Changsun Pingting, and Empress Changsun couldn't stop laughing after hearing the full story. These old men were really good actors. Qingxiu instructed Xuanzi to skin and trim the hind leg, cutting off dozens of lb of beef. Cheng Chumo stood in the yard, sniffing the air nonstop and swallowing his saliva. He had never smelled anything so fragrant in his life. He entered the kitchen with a grin, Lord Qing, long time no see. How have you been lately? Although the two looked like peers, Qingxiu was already in his 30s. But since his body had become younger, he was happy to hang out with young men like Cheng Chumo. Qingxiu nodded and smiled, not bad. Cheng Chumo grinned and asked quietly, I heard from a seamstress at Hongxiu Tower that you got that courtesan the other day. This wasn't much of a secret between Cheng Chumo and Changsun Chong. Qingxiu just gave a light laugh and asked, Why, did you go to Hongxiu Tower again? Cheng Chumo chuckled and changed the subject, Let me help you cut the meat. How should I cut it? Cut it into walnut-sized chunks. Got it. Cheng Chumo quickly picked it up, and soon had several lb of beef chopped into large chunks. He then stood by, watching Qingxiu cook, constantly exclaiming in amazement. The crayfish had simmered for half an hour and were fully infused with flavor, with no muddy smell at all. The taste was even more authentic than those served at modern street stalls. When he saw Qingxiu scoop out a bright red piece and slurp it up, he opened the lid and looked closely, then exclaimed in shock, Lord Qing, you're actually eating clawed bugs? Qingxiu chuckled, Want one? Without hesitation, Cheng Chumo grabbed a crayfish and slurped it. His eyes lit up and he gave a thumbs up. To turn a pest like this into such a delicious dish, probably only you, Lord Qing, could do that. Qingxiu pointed outside, His Majesty and the Duke said they wouldn't eat it. This whole pot of crayfish is ours. By the way, crayfish must be paired with beer. Those guys outside pretend to be noble. I plan to enjoy it alone, but since you're okay with eating clawed bugs, I'll share my secret homemade brew with you. Qingxiu went to the kitchen corner, lifted a lid off a water jar, took out 2 glass bottles, pulled out the stoppers, pop, and cold air rose from the bottle necks. Yes, this was his own exclusive, handmade beer with no additives. Brewing beer is actually not difficult, there are about 7 or 8 steps. First, you need to cultivate malt. Then crush the malt and put it into a container with hot water to maintain the temperature. After about an hour, you'll get a barrel of malt sugar water without any additives. Next, boil the malt sugar water and add hops in stages. Hops is a plant essential for brewing beer. There's quite a bit of wild hops in the Qinling Mountains, which Qingxiu discovered by chance when visiting Sun Simiao. Sun Simiao used it as a medicinal herb in Chinese medicine. The next steps are even simpler. After boiling and cooling the malt sugar water with hops, add a suitable amount of yeast and ferment for 1 day. Then bottle it and chill it with ice. It's ready to drink. In the beginning, Qingxiu failed at least a dozen times. Fortunately, hard work paid off. A few days ago, he finally made a decent beer. It had a rich flavor, similar to dark beer, and was very strong. 1 bottle equaled the alcohol content of 3. Qingxiu brought over 2 bottles of chilled beer, handed one to Chang Chumo, and started drinking a few sips himself, showing a satisfied expression. Chang Chumo didn't drink immediately. He carefully examined the bottle and gasped in shock, "Oh my, Lord Qing is so extravagant. You're using glazed glassware for drinks." There was no concept of glass in the Tang dynasty. Such materials were called liuli. The glass bottles used for the beer were made in Qing Mansion in Chang'an. The light green transparent bottles looked crystal clear and high-end. He only made a few dozen of these bottles. Since they could be reused, making more would be pointless. Qingxiu smiled, "No need to be so surprised. Try the taste." Chang Chumo stopped focusing on the glass and took a sip. He frowned at first, then took another sip and relaxed. By the 3rd sip, his eyes were shining. "Not bad." Chang Chumo said in surprise, "It's a little bitter at first, but the more you drink, the better it tastes. This beer is really refreshing, perfect for cooling down in summer." As expected of Lord Qing. "I admire you." Qingxiu also drank with a satisfied look while busy cooking the beef stew with potatoes. Soon, the table outside was filled with all kinds of exquisite dishes. Most were made by the household cooks, except for the potatoes and crayfish, which were made by Qingxiu himself. Over a dozen dishes filled the table. Wei Zheng, Fang Xianling, and the others were amazed, repeatedly praising how simple ingredients were turned into something extraordinary. Li Er, Chang Sunwuji, and Cheng Yaojin had been there a few times and weren't surprised anymore. But everyone noticed the glass bottles in the hands of Qingxiu and Chang Chumo. Cheng Yaojin's jaw almost dropped. Except for Li Er and Chang Sunwuji, everyone else was stunned. Wei Zheng gave a bitter smile. "I thought a courtyard full of ice was already luxurious, but even the drinkware at Lord Qing's home is priceless glassware." Li Er said nothing but thought to himself, if Wei Zheng knew this beautiful glass was made from sand, what would he say? Chang Sunwuji asked, "Son-in-law, what are you and Chang Chumo drinking? Not the usual Xinhua village liquor?" Qingxiu smiled faintly, "I'm not feeling well today, so I can't drink alcohol. Just having some sour plum soup. You all enjoy yourselves." Chang Sunwuji didn't think much of it and kept staring at the shredded potatoes, his throat moving. Qingxiu explained, "Everyone, this dish is spicy shredded potatoes. This one is potato beef stew. I'll try first." Li Er took a bite of the shredded potatoes, and his expression lit up. "Lord Qing, this shredded potato is heavenly, crisp and tasty, goes perfectly with rice." Then he tried the potato beef stew and was mesmerized, didn't expect the shredded potatoes to be crisp and the stewed ones to be so soft. "Delicious. Everyone should try." Everyone picked up their chopsticks. After tasting it, they all praised the shredded and stewed potatoes. "This potato is crisp, refreshing, sour and spicy, truly a rare delicacy. When potatoes are widely planted, I'll eat them every meal." "Ah?" Fang Xianling sighed, "I've never had such delicious food in my life. I thought the meals at Taste Central were already great, but the cook at Lord Qing's home has real skills." Chang Yaojin laughed, "This is nothing. Lord Qing's cooking is amazing. Especially the braised pork, this cook is nowhere near his level." "Huh? Lord Qing? Why aren't you eating?" Everyone was puzzled seeing Qingxiu and Chang Chumo sitting there without eating. Hearing this, Qingxiu smiled and nodded, "We're about to eat." He got up and returned with a large copper basin full of crayfish. Chang Chumo rolled up his sleeves with a grin, "Brother Qing, let's start." "All right. Here, take one." The two clinked their beer bottles, took a big gulp, and started eating crayfish like crazy, breaking the shells, sucking the meat, even chewing the shells before spitting them out. They ate with such enjoyment that everyone else was dumbfounded. Chang Yaojin smacked the back of Chang Chumo's head, glaring, "Brat. You had such good food and didn't call your dad?" Then he picked up a crayfish, copied them, slurped it twice, and his eyes lit up. "Your Majesty, who knew this clawed bug could taste so good? You must try it." Li Er was about to grab one, but Qingxiu said, "Uncle Chang, His Majesty and the dukes already said they wouldn't eat clawed bugs, even if it killed them. Let's just enjoy it ourselves." Li Er's hand froze in midair, then awkwardly pulled back. The others looked at each other, not sure whether to eat or not. But as Qingxiu and Chang Yaojin enjoyed crayfish with cold beer, Li Er and the rest couldn't resist. Shamefully, they joined in. The large basin of crayfish was quickly emptied. It was incredibly popular. While eating, Li Er said awkwardly, I take back what I said before. Lord Qing, your method for getting rid of crayfish is excellent. Right? Qingxiu chuckled, I plan to buy crayfish. 3 copper coins per pound. As long as they're alive, I'll take however many Weinan has. The magistrate of Weinan wept with joy, expressing his deep gratitude. He cried out that the people of Weinan were saved. If no one held him back, he would have knelt to thank Qingxiu. After the meal, everyone said their goodbyes. Chang Yaojin stayed behind with his son, using summer heat as an excuse. Once everyone left, Chang Yaojin laughed and asked, Lord Qing, how was the beef from my cow? Qingxiu thought for a moment and nodded, it really was good. Chang Yaojin patted his chest, whenever you want beef, just send someone to my house. I may lack other things, but I've got endless plowing oxen. Just say the word, and one will die from illness anytime. Qingxiu thought of an old saying, unprovoked kindness must be hiding something, and smiled, Uncle Chang, if you need something, just say it. Chang Yaojin sighed, this damned heat. Your 2 aunts want to stay at their mother's house. My son and I are always in loincloths. This can't go on. Qingxiu thought for a moment and said, Uncle Chang, I can't reveal the ice-making method, but you can send someone to get a cart of ice from my home every day to keep cool. Chang Yaojin laughed heartily, thank you, nephew. If you ever need my help, just ask. The fewer people who knew the method of making ice with saltpeter, the better. If too many knew, resources would be wasted, and Qingxiu would lose his summer ice privilege and advantage. Many women in the village lived off selling ice water in Chang'an. If the method spread, everyone would be selling ice water, and no one would buy anymore. The news that Marquis of Lantian was buying crayfish at 3 copper coins per lb spread through Weinan like lightning. The people of Weinan, who had already lost hope, were instantly energized by this news. Before dawn, they were already in the rice fields catching crayfish, and by nightfall, they could deliver them to Sanha village. These commoners naturally didn't know that crayfish, once processed, became a top delicacy. They all thought the Marquis of Lantian was acting out of compassion, unwilling to see the people suffer, and was doing a charitable act. This also gradually gave Qingxiu influence in the Weinan area. Charity? No way. This man simply saw the business opportunity in crayfish and had no thoughts of charity at all. In the past 2 days, many people came to Sanha village to deliver crayfish. To prevent large-scale deaths of the crayfish, Qingxiu specially formed a construction team to dig a large pond near the Ba River for raising crayfish. As Yueju launched 2 signature dishes, garlic crayfish and chilled crayfish, the name crayfish gradually replaced clawed bug, and those who had tasted it praised it highly. Word spread quickly, and crayfish became a sought-after delicacy overnight. This resulted in long queues daily at Yueju just to eat crayfish. Even so, the amount of crayfish kept growing. Relying on just one Yueju restaurant couldn't possibly sell them all. Early today, Qingxiu took a carriage to Yueju and, familiar with the route, entered the office shared by Lang Yuchan and Zhou Kaiwei. Lang Yuchan elegantly brewed a pot of tea and respectfully said, Lord Marquis, please have some tea. Qingxiu took a sip and asked, how's the training of the servers going? Are there any candidates suitable to manage a shop? Zhou Kaiwei on the side asked doubtfully, didn't your lordship set the training period to 1 month? Qingxiu said, I'm afraid we can't wait that long. More and more crayfish are coming in, and even the village ponds can't hold them anymore. So today I've come to pick some servers who can manage a shop and open branches in nearby counties. Zhou Kaiwei frowned, there are a few who are capable, but none have experience. What if? Qingxiu jokingly said, didn't you and Yuchan also start without experience? And yet you're running the first Yueju very well. Experience comes from practice. Both women blushed slightly at the praise. Zhou Kaiwei, a bit excited, said, my lord, I do have a way to quickly handle the crayfish surplus. Oh? Qingxiu raised his eyebrows and smiled. Tell me your method. Zhou Kaiwei smiled, it's actually quite simple. Now more and more customers want to try crayfish, some can't even get in. We can offer a pre-order service. Anyone who orders in advance pays up front, and the next day we'll have someone deliver the meal to their home. This way, customers can enjoy crayfish without leaving the house. Isn't that basically the concept of Meituan in later generations? Qingxiu asked in surprise, you came up with this? Zhou Kaiwei blushed and nodded shyly, yes, I just thought of it. I'm not sure if it will work. Qingxiu praised, it's a good idea. I thought of something similar myself. Since you brought it up first, I'll leave it to you. Let customers reserve a day in advance. As long as it's within the city, delivery is free. Crayfish buying price wasn't high. With a low-margin, high-volume strategy to build the brand, Yueju sold crayfish at just 50 copper coins per pound. That's why there were more and more customers. 50 coins for a lb of crayfish was a stark contrast to a regular plate of greens costing 100 coins. This was because there was currently too much crayfish. Without high turnover, it would never sell out. The most important thing now was to firmly establish the concept that clawed bugs can be eaten. Once all of Tang accepted that crayfish are edible, the sales channels would open up. When autumn came, and a few rounds of chili were cultivated, they could also be used. At that time, they'd launch spicy crayfish with even richer flavor than garlic or chilled crayfish. Selling it at a higher price wouldn't be a problem. Forget 50 coins, people would fight to pay 500 coins per lb. Zhou Kaiwei came from a poor family. She had been sold into a wealthy household as a maid, and after making a mistake, was resold to a broker. Though illiterate, she had a knack for business. In less than half an hour, she developed a very complete pre-order system. Qingxiu decided to implement the service after the upcoming auction event. He then gave more instructions, asking capable servers to go find suitable locations for branch stores, also a test of their judgment and ability. Back in Sanha village, a carriage was parked at the door, one Qingxiu had seen a few times. It belonged to Empress Changsun. As soon as he entered the courtyard, he saw Changsun, Li Lizhu, Li Lizzy, his 3 wives, and Lin Feifei chattering around a pile of wood. Empress Changsun said in surprise, "Miss Lin knows how to assemble a loom." Su Xiaochun laughed. Feifei's family runs a textile business. She grew up around looms. Assembling one is no problem for her. In the past few days, Lin Feifei had gradually recovered from her tragic family loss and was much more cheerful. She looked confused and said, "Your Majesty, I do know how to assemble a loom, but these parts don't look quite the same as the ones I'm used to. I'm not sure where to begin. My husband is back." Changsun Pingting saw Qingxiu and smiled happily, running to greet him. Qingxiu bowed to Empress Changsun, "Your Majesty, why are you not resting in the palace but visiting my humble home?" Empress Changsun smiled. Lizzie had chilled crayfish from Baiweiju yesterday, then heard her father describe how delicious the spicy crayfish was. Today she insisted on coming to your house for it. So I've brought her here. The little beauty next to her tilted her head and looked hopeful. "Lord Qing, can you make spicy crayfish for me? I can massage your shoulders like last time and make sure you're comfortable." Qingxiu's mouth twitched, and he inhaled sharply. Good grief, kids really say the darndest things. The little girl hadn't forgotten how she had to massage him to get a meal last time. Hearing this, Li Lizhu quickly covered her mouth and nervously looked at Empress Changsun. Sure enough, the Empress glared. "Lord Qing, how dare you make my precious daughter massage you?" Qingxiu smiled awkwardly. "Your Majesty, last time I was just joking with the princess. Please don't take it seriously. As a noble, how could I let her do such things?" Though in his mind, he added, "If anyone should do it, it should be her mother." The Empress raised a palm and said, "Prepare at least 5 lb of crayfish, or I won't forgive you." Anyone could see the Empress was smiling inside. Though she acted fierce, she didn't really mind. Qingxiu instructed someone to catch over 10 pounds of crayfish and asked a few cooks to clean them. After Qingxiu finished his tasks and came back, Lin Feifei pointed curiously at some parts on the ground and asked, "Mr. Qing, is this the textile machine you designed?" Qingxiu felt a bit annoyed. He decided that next time he had something made, it must be delivered quietly. Otherwise, like this time, if it's something significant, he wouldn't be able to keep it secret at all. Su Xiaochun also said, "My lord, these wooden pieces were delivered by carpenter Zhang, and the metal parts were delivered by blacksmith Wang. They said you asked them to make them a few days ago. Would you like to assemble it?" Empress Changsun and Li Lizhu were also surprised. They didn't expect this blind marquis to be able to design a textile machine. Qingxiu asked back, "Didn't Miss Lin say she could assemble a loom at 12 years old? Now's the time to prove your skill. Go ahead and assemble these parts." This, Lin Feifei blushed in embarrassment and stammered, "The looms I've seen were relatively simple, but the one you designed has too many components. I'm not quite sure how to assemble it." Su Xiaochun laughed and said, "My lord, don't make it hard for Miss Lin. She's been getting up early and working hard making clothes for you. She barely eats properly. By the way, my lord, she's been making clothes for a long time now. Why haven't we seen you wear any of them? It's been so long. Logically, they should be finished already." Su Xiaochun looked puzzled. Lin Feifei's face turned even redder, and she gave Qingxiu a contemptuous glance. "Ah." Qingxiu laughed awkwardly, "I haven't worn them because they were made for you all. Once I finish things today, I'll have you try them on." Changsun Pingting was touched and said, "Husband is so thoughtful. So the clothes Miss Lin made were for us?" "Yes." Yunyang also looked moved and said, "Master is the most caring husband in the world." Qingxiu pinched Yunyang's smooth, soft cheek and smiled, "You're the sweetest talker. You'll be the first to try on the new clothes today. Yunyang showed a shy and joyful smile. Lin Feifei blushed and quietly turned her lips in disdain. She thought, sure, the clothes are for you, but they're also for him. You wear them, and he enjoys it in his heart. But wait, something's wrong? Lin Feifei's eyes suddenly widened with a look of disbelief. Didn't he already take away a few sets of suspenders and stockings, saying they were for the ladies to try on? Why do they all seem completely unaware of these new clothes? Could it be, he gave the clothes to someone else? Lin Feifei looked like she had cracked a case and harshly judged Qingxiu in her heart. Empress Changsun curiously asked, Lord Qing can design women's clothes? That's quite something. Qingxiu pretended to be calm and said, I just sketched them out while bored. Please don't laugh at me, Your Majesty. Empress Changsun smiled and said, anything Lord Qing makes must be excellent. I'm sure the style is very elegant. Why not bring it out for me to try on? If it looks good, I'll have some made too. Qingxiu's heart pounded wildly. Good heavens, she wants to try it on too? He couldn't help but recall the scene when they dug up potatoes. Yes, majestic, godmother, sultry. Lin Feifei's face turned pale with fear. This was the empress, the mother of the nation. How could she wear such provocative, suggestive lingerie? If she found out what kind of clothes they were and got angry, Lin Feifei might get in trouble too. She grew more anxious. Qingxiu forced a dry laugh and said, that wouldn't be appropriate. These clothes were made for my wives. It's better if Your Majesty doesn't try them on. Su Xiaochun smiled and shook her head. It's fine, my lord. It would be our honor for the empress to try on our clothes. We'd love to see if they look good too. Yes, husband, Changsun Pingting said happily. You designed these clothes for me, and now I really want to wear them and show them off. Qingxiu nearly spat out blood. Show off suspenders and stockings in public? Such a wonderful wife, this was divine sabotage. Lin Feifei looked panicked, but she forced herself to stay calm and awkwardly said, well, the clothes aren't ready yet. Once they're finished, we'll let Her Majesty try them on. Very soon, I promise. She had to get through this somehow, or it'd be a disaster. Yes, yes. Qingxiu quickly added, the clothes aren't ready yet. It won't be too late to try them on after they're done. Empress Changsun frowned, but I clearly heard you just now say the clothes are ready to wear. Why are you trying so hard to stop me from trying them on? Qingxiu shook his head, I'm not trying to stop you. It's just, they're not quite done. He couldn't possibly say, they're women's intimate lingerie. He couldn't afford that kind of embarrassment, especially with Princess Xiangqing present. If she found out, who knows how she'd look at him. If Empress Changsun insisted on trying them on, so be it, at least it would be in private. Better to be misunderstood by her alone than in front of everyone. Qingxiu smiled and changed the subject. Your Majesty wanted to see the loom I designed, right? I'll assemble it now so you can see its unique features. Empress Changsun rolled her eyes and grabbed his arm with a scowl. Don't change the subject. I'm definitely trying on that new outfit today. Bring it here now. She looked at Su Xiaochun and the others and smiled. Your husband must have designed something stunning and is afraid I'll steal it, so he doesn't want me to try it on. That's the only explanation. Don't worry. As the empress, I won't fight with younger women over clothes. I'd be ashamed to do that. I'm just curious about how it looks. I'll try it on and give it right back. Su Xiaochun giggled, Your Majesty, we're not that petty. Please try it on freely. Empress Changsun smiled, Princess Xiaochun speaks so sweetly. I'll put it on later and let everyone see. Lin Feifei leaned against the wall, feeling like her brain lacked oxygen. It's over, it's really over. The empress wants to show it off too? Qingxiu's mouth twitched non-stop. He let out a long sigh and said, since Your Majesty wants to try it on, then please do. But, maybe there's no need to show it off. As long as you're satisfied, that's what matters. Empress Changsun playfully scolded, no way. What's the fun in trying on clothes if no one sees? Besides, you can't see anyway, it's not like I'm showing them to you. Hurry and bring them out. Phew! Qingxiu sighed and said to Lin Feifei, go get the new clothes. Since Her Majesty wants to try them, let her. Lin Feifei opened her mouth, swallowed hard, and turned pale. Really? Yes, really. Bring them in a bag. What color should I bring? Lin Feifei asked on impulse. Qingxiu pulled a face and covered it with one hand. Red. It suits Her Majesty's temperament. If this noble empress wanted to wear them, so be it, she asked for it. It had nothing to do with the Marquis of Lan Tian. Lin Feifei, legs weak like jelly, went to the backyard holding the wall. When she returned, she was less nervous. In her hand was a small cloth bag. Inside were a red bra and a pair of red suspender stockings. Empress Changsun saw the small bundle in Lin Feifei's hands, and her eyes lit up. The clothes fit in such a small bundle. They must be incredibly light. Wearing them must feel very cool and refreshing. She looked at Qingxiu and said with a smile, this must be something Lord Qing designed to help your wives stay cool in summer, right? Qingxiu's expression stiffened. He thought to himself, this woman really has a wild imagination. So he nodded and said, exactly. Your Majesty, it's better if you try it on in the inner room. If it looks good, you can come out and let everyone see. If not, then change out of it. Miss Lin, please go in with Her Majesty and show her how to put it on. Empress Changsun asked in confusion, isn't it just a piece of clothing? I'm not stupid. I know how to wear clothes. Lin Feifei objected, what? You want me to teach Her Majesty how to wear it? Qingxiu said without patience, if you don't teach the Empress, should I do it instead? Empress Changsun laughed, and what if you do? You're blind, you can't see anyway. Rip. Qingxiu gasped inwardly. He did want to teach, but he truly didn't dare. After much coaxing, Lin Feifei reluctantly followed Empress Changsun into the bedroom, feeling nervous and anxious. Lin Feifei locked the door, opened the bundle with trembling hands. Empress Changsun picked up the red bra and was instantly dumbfounded. Her face turned bright red, her brows filled with anger. Lin Feifei braced herself and said, Your Majesty, this item is called a bra. It's an undergarment specially designed for women. Wearing it helps prevent breast sagging. Although Empress Changsun was furious and embarrassed, she was still rational. She held up the bra, studied it carefully, and blushed as she nodded slightly, looks like, it really is designed to prevent sagging. TCH. Her face still red, she scolded, this Marquis of Lantian. How could he design such shameful clothing? She tossed the bra aside and picked up the red suspenders, only to be stunned again. Lin Feifei quickly explained, Your Majesty, this is underwear. She gave a detailed explanation of its function. Empress Changsun's eyes widened, fuming, why does it have two long straps? Isn't that unnecessary? Lin Feifei also blushed, I don't know what Lord Qing was thinking. I only helped sew it. I don't know anything else. Empress Changsun suddenly remembered what she had just said earlier, about walking around wearing such breezy clothing. Thinking about it made her face burn even hotter, and she cursed even more angrily, to think he's that kind of Marquis of Lantian. Designing such provocative clothes, as if he could see them. What is he thinking? His head is full of dirty thoughts. Ahem, Lin Feifei asked awkwardly, does Your Majesty still want to try it on? Empress Changsun hesitated. Thinking of how, after having so many children, things had started sagging a little, she felt tempted. She took a deep breath and said, You go out. I'll try it myself. Lin Feifei obediently left and waited in the living room. Changsun Wugu took off all her clothes, revealing her perfectly full figure. She quickly tried on the bra and couldn't help but be surprised. Wow, it actually holds tightly. It really does prevent sagging. As for the suspenders, my goodness, so shameful. She quickly took off the suspenders and changed back into her own clothes. Then she called softly toward the door, You may come in. Lin Feifei entered. Empress Changsun had already regained her elegant and dignified demeanor. She held the red bra and said, Make a few more of these in my size. I'll come get them in a few days and we'll pay you then. Lin Feifei carefully asked, What about the suspenders? Empress Changsun blushed and scoffed, Forget the suspenders. Just a few pairs of underwear will do. Yes, Your Majesty. Only then did Empress Changsun leave the room and go to the courtyard. Su Xiaochun came up and asked curiously, Godmother, why didn't you wear the new clothes out to show everyone? Empress Changsun, who had returned to her noble composure, was suddenly flustered again by Su Xiaochun's words. Blushing and stammering, she said, The clothes didn't quite fit. They must have been made to your measurements. Really? Su Xiaochun said, holding her pregnant belly with a smile. Then I want to try them too. Empress Changsun quickly grabbed her and, trying to cover her embarrassment, said, Forget it. Let's go watch your husband assemble the loom. As for the new clothes, you can try them on later. All right then, Su Xiaochun didn't think too much of it. While Empress Changsun was trying on the underwear, Qingxiu had already started assembling the loom. He first designed the Huang Daopo style loom, which was far more efficient than existing looms, 5 to 6 times faster. The loom's principle was actually simple. 4 wooden boards made a frame. 2 wooden columns stood upright, fixed at one end into the base. In the middle were 2 cranked wooden iron rods. By turning the handles and stepping on the pedals, the machine operated easily. Not only was it simple, but also very labor-saving and extremely efficient. Lin Feifei circled around the completed loom in excitement. After careful study, she exclaimed, Oh my! Mr. Qing, your modified loom increases weaving speed by 5 to 6 times. Yunyang was also shocked. Master, you're amazing. This loom design is brilliant. Yunyang's family had a loom, so she wasn't unfamiliar with weaving. Su Xiaochun and Changsun Pingting were also astonished. Empress Changsun even cried out, "What? 5 to 6 times faster? Miss Lin, don't exaggerate." As the empress, she oversaw the Royal Textile Bureau. She knew what a 5-fold increase in production meant. It meant the traditional textile industry was about to be revolutionized. Many cloth merchants would go bankrupt. A 5-fold increase meant saving the labor of 4 people. The price of cloth would drop drastically. For large weaving workshops, this would be a devastating blow. It was truly a dimensional collapse. Realizing this, Empress Changsuan's eyes turned red, her face showing one emotion: desire. She had completely forgotten the scene of herself wearing the bra and suspenders. Now her head was full of one thing: how to get her hands on this loom.
Did you enjoy the story, guys? I hope you did. Support this video with a like and a comment. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.